Just accept that everyone's going to hate you afterwards, like they always do.
Yes!
Express opinions of things on the internet.
That's
the power of the internet!
I've come accustomed to it at this point. I can no longer be shocked. Okay, so, hey guys, let's talk about Ghost in the Shell, 2017.
Spoilers!
The whole thing's spoilers.
Spoilercast.
So don't bother.
One of these days I'm going to do a spoilercast about something I enjoyed.
I won't. So me and Keith went to go see Ghost in the Shell, or
Ghost in the Shell 2017.
Yeah, we have to,
because we have to keep fucking using the same names for everything, so you have to delineate what anything is by just adding a number that's not included with the title of the thing.
Yes.
Thanks IMDb for propagating this only way of identifying things.
And as much as I would love to see a live action anime movie, it's not happening today.
You've technically seen live action versions of like 2 scenes from an anime, with all context lost.
I guess. Okay, so let's preface this by let's go at the very beginning of the whole story.
Let's rewind to the experience of watching the trailer for the first time of this movie.
Yeah, so watching the trailer for Ghost in the Shell was an experience of, wow, there's a lot of shit going on, but not a lot of shit I care about.
So a few months ago, we sat down with Joe and we watched the original Ghost in the Shell anime movie.
Yes.
From like, what, 80s at least?
I think it, yeah.
Yeah. And it's not even really one of my favorite things. It's fine.
It's a movie.
Yeah.
It's entertainment. That's
I had
all.
like a detachment to it, and a vague sense that I probably need to watch it more than once to fully absorb some of it, because first of all, I did not know what I was getting myself into, because I watched Standalone Complex years and years ago, and the Ghost in the Shell movie is so different of an experience from that.
Yes.
But I came away from it likening it to sort of like watching like an anime episode of like Black Mirror, where you're just going to this world where everyone everyone else in the world is completely 100% just used to the way that the world works now.
Yes.
And you're just sort of thrown into the middle of this thing, and then a scenario plays out that's within the fiction of that world.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that was compelling. Like, Major is just like, yeah, I'm a cyborg lady.
Yeah, there's no...
I'm so adjusted at this point. Like, she's just like, whatever.
Most people in that universe aren't taken aback by anything that usually goes on.
Everyone's totally, completely accepting of their situation until something horrifying happens or something.
Yeah, unless something bad, like unless it's like a murder or like a hacking.
Yeah.
Like, most people are kind of like, yeah, I mean, there are robots that can open their face holes. Like, yeah, that's okay. I mean,
people have USB USB ports on their necks, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, is like that
smartphones, yo.
Yeah,
it's just like, this is our thing now.
Yeah, if you did a movie of Earth at the current moment, people wouldn't be like, hey Keith, that's a really weird device you have in your hand that can communicate with anybody instantly. And like, that's the thing is, as an audience member, you don't need that.
Now, I will now stare directly into the camera and monologue about philosophy for 10 minutes.
Yeah, and like, Ghost in the Shell doesn't go out of its way to make you feel like you're an idiot for not knowing. Ghost in the Shell, the original movie, doesn't make you go out of the way to make you feel like you're an idiot because you don't understand this world, because there's not much about the world that you actually don't need to, or there's not a lot about the world that is not hard to pick up easily. Like, there's not a lot of times where you're in this world and you go like, I have no fucking idea how any of this works. A lot of it is pretty much the same. There are people who are robot bodies. How does that work? Well, you see it in the beginning of the cutscene. You understand how the whole process works, how bodies are built, whatever.
And they adjust you to it partly by having this extended montage of sort of like scrolling through the city for a while music plays.
Yeah.
And they just let you see what is and isn't different from what you'd expect.
Exactly. And like, you see people with augmented... like, you see people with enhancements like, oh, my eyes are different, or, oh, I have, like, strong limbs, or whatever, but, like, you don't, like, you just pick up on that. Like, okay, they explain to you that cybernetics are a big thing, people, alter their bodies. That's all you need to know. No one needs to explain, no one, like, needs to explain to you exactly how Bato's eyes work.
So what worried me is that the movie was, like, just this... The original movie was, like, just this portal into a different world, right?
Yes.
And people are just accepting of that world, and... you are given chances to analyze and question elements of how the world works as it goes on. But then you see the trailer for the new movie, and immediately it looks like you're watching the trailer for Divergent or something like that. Like all the glut of young adult movies that are based on young adult novels, where some person that is the protagonist is the special one and the chosen one, and something's different about them, and they're going to topple what's wrong with the world, and all that stuff starts coming into play. Like the moment you watch the trailer for this movie, it's like, oh, they're making Major into that character.
Yeah,
that it's literally like incompatible and totally separate from like anything she does or acts like in the entire movie that this movie's based on. Like, it's a totally different character.
Yes.
And that starts to become that quickly becomes apparent that that's not just a trailer, that's genuinely how the movie plays out, too. Like, she is, instead of being somebody who just already is like that, the movie starts off with her waking up as an android for the first time, then doing the worst decision ever, which is a very, like, Star Wars Rogue One type problem, is that this movie has the same problem Rogue One had, which is that it's all plot and no character.
Yeah.
Because they both start off with a female character who has some kind of past that's important to the entire movie, but the moment they establish anything about that past, they jump forward some arbitrary amount of time and cover nothing that happened in between, never develop the character in any way, then just jump headfirst into the mission that takes up the entire movie.
Yeah.
Because like Rogue One starts off with, my mom got shot and my dad got kidnapped. Oh no, something about Death Stars. I'm an abandoned child. And then just snap, you're now in a prison, like 20 years later.
Yeah, you're just now an adult in a facility.
So I hated Rogue One, like possibly more than most Star Wars movies, because I'm like, they forgot to have characters in this movie. It's really like that kind of shit happened. And this one was like that too. It's like, oh wow, what a shock waking up as an android. Like your whole body's gone, and you think your parents are dead and things like that. I wonder how she deal with that. She doesn't. They just skip a year. And then she's in a mission. Literally, it's like, oh no, has my new body? How do I breathe? And then they're like, everyone, this is Major. I'm gonna jump off a building and turn invisible and shoot some people. I'm like, the fuck?
Yeah.
You just skip to that, huh? Okay. And then that is her being at the beginning of the mission that takes up the entire movie. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You didn't establish these characters. So I'm just watching people do plot. And it's like plot point. Like it's like I'm not attached to anything that's happening.
Yeah, I think the weirder part too is that there so many weirder parts. It's not even a weirder part. I think one of the things that frustrated me too was that you are handed the group, like I will say group very sparingly because it's not even a one-to-one accurate representation of the original group.
It's like a weird configuration of people kind of given the same names or not.
Yeah, and so like there's like a scene like the moment after the whole like she jumps out of the building, you go into she's like in this briefing room with all these people and they're like, hey, so what's going on? I'm like, excuse me,
I don't know what's going on.
Who are you people? Where did you come from?
Before long, like somebody is like identified as Bato and other characters, and then there's just other people in the room which you don't know who they are, and they have some offhand dialogue about like augmented bodies, and then you basically never see them again.
Yeah, you see
and I'm
them.
like, why were they introduced?
Yeah, it was really weird. I think okay,
like the black guy. Did he ever show up again?
Yes.
When?
He was at the very end. He shot down the helicopter.
That was who that was?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell because he was covered in face stuff doing a sniper
Also because the whole scene was pitch black.
And he's not set up as a sniper at all.
No.
Like, the girl, all she does is at one point slip them guns through a window.
Yes.
Like, that's their amazing team.
She is a she's a weapons dealer, it seems like, because she's the one who has all the gear. Every time they talk to her, she's like, hey, do you have the stuff? And she's like, yeah, I got it. So, like, that's her
I don't know if that means she's a dealer.
Well, I meant dealers, and, like, as part of the team, she's the one who dishes out the equipment.
Yeah.
Like, she's the equipment giver. And it's like, is that your entire job? Do we pay you just to carry a bag?
They established, like, this oversized team for a movie that will not feature team operations.
Yeah, there's no, like...
The only team operation of the
Bato.
entire movie is the opening scene.
Yeah.
Which is before they introduce the team. Then they introduce the team, and then never do a team operation in the entire film, because the whole film is her dealing with her personal shit and plot twists and stuff.
Yeah.
While everyone else, including Bato, are the most fringe characters ever, to the point where, like, when it's time for them, like they're like, we're burnt, and, like, the bad guys are coming in to kill the whole team one by one, wherever they are at the time, I'm like, oh, cool, Togasa's at a ramen shop, and then like he fights some dudes, and then we never see him for like the rest of the movie. And like, and Bato is like, "Don't worry, puppy, I got this." I don't even know if did they even show him fight, or did they just skip and just imply that he fought them off?
I think they just imply.
I can't remember if he actually ever shoots them. He's just like, "I got a puppy." I'm like, what?
No, I think they don't, because it just shows him pull the gun out.
So I'm not crazy. Like, genuinely don't show that.
They don't even show that.
I'm like, how the fuck is he gonna not get that dog shot? Because they shoot everywhere, apparently.
Yeah.
Every time anyone gets shot at in this movie, bullet holes sprout out of the walls everywhere on the screen except for the character, who never gets shot ever.
I think my favorite of the bullet hole shooting is like that part where the main bad guy shoots the girl through the glass.
Yeah.
And he shoots twice, but she only takes one hit.
Oh, because he was shooting twice, because the first shot was to break the glass.
Oh.
That was intentional, like the first shot didn't break the glass, then he shot again.
It's bulletproof glass?
Apparently, not very.
Yeah, wait, what? It only takes one bullet?
That's supposed to be. I think that's supposed to be how also bulletproof vests work. Is that they only really stop one impact, because it's not like a super armor. It's literally like a thing that like super solidifies against an impact.
Yeah, but I thought like
expired.
But I think bulletproof glass, like the way it works is like when you shoot, you have to shoot the same spot twice, or you have to shoot at least like within millimeters of each other, because it's like just the whole thing's reinforced.
I don't know how bullet crap works.
Yes.
Bullet crap glass
Either
works.
way, it was like really jarring, because he's like blap, and then like the window has like a hole in it, and he's like blap, and then
somehow doing two shots like reduces the impact.
Yeah,
of
and
the
then it had
fact that it's happening.
Yeah, it had another bullet
Also,
hole.
she stood still after the first one. That was interesting.
She didn't duck.
Oh, he's going to shoot me. I'll just see how this plays out.
Yeah. She took a pretty risky move. She stood up for the first shot. It didn't hit her, so she stood there again to see if he'd do it again.
God.
And then she got hit again.
We're jumping all over this movie so hard now.
So anyways, going back to the beginning, we start out, we basically start out with her, we go through the scene of her being made, which
is baffling to watch.
It's baffling to watch, but it's also not consistent, which is the weird part about the movie, because there's like multiple times where they show like it 3D printing her arm and skin, but
which
like
is something that just seems to be magic,
I guess, because it doesn't even have
taffy out on you that magically bonds into your entire body and serves whatever purpose it has to magically serve in that part of your body.
But like the other weird part too is like when it's going through the scene of showing how she's made, it shows like this entire metal exoskeleton.
Yeah, they take a brain case and put it inside a metal skeleton, which then goes through like 3 layers of taffy that auto bond around her entire body.
Yeah, well, no, it only goes through the white.
No, because it has the...
Or it goes
there's
through
the translucent layer, then there's the red muscle layer, then there's this white skin layer.
Yes.
Which also, by the way, if you were mad about some company, some big corporation making Major white, in the movie, Major was made white by an evil corporation.
Yes.
Because she literally is not... The brain doesn't come from a white person, but the body is that of a white person. Because you eventually find out... She eventually finds her mom in the movie and finds out who she was and sees a flashback of her being taken away and everything, and it's clearly not a little white girl. No. So, like, it's just her body is white in a way.
Her name's not even.
So, like, the controversy is, like, baked into the movie itself.
Yeah.
Speaking of, like, the whitewashing thing, for me, like, of all the people on the cast, the one person I didn't really imagine really being a white dude was Togusa.
Togusa wasn't.
I was expecting him to be a white dude.
Oh yeah,
it's some guy with like a brown hair, like mullet from like the 80s. He looks like the protagonist of most like action movies, like what, Kurt Russell or whatever. Is that the guy?
Yeah.
Like he looks like vaguely like 80s Kurt Russell or something in the anime.
Yeah,
and in the movie he's just some Japanese guy that kind of has long hair in the back.
Yeah, he just has a mullet.
Also, he has like 4 lines of dialogue.
Yeah.
Instead of being like the filter through which the audience sees everything, because he's the human character.
He's the human guy.
The point of that character is to be the everyman that we see the whole movie through.
Yes.
Because he's the only person in the movie that's not augmented.
Yes.
That's the main character. And he's human, and he talks to other people that are augmented, and that's how we filter and cipher through this. But since the whole movie is about the main character freaking out about her changes, he doesn't have a purpose anymore, so he just shows up twice.
Yeah,
and then is largely forgotten about the movie.
He's in 3 scenes. So he's like in the scene the first time when it's doing the briefing of everybody. He's in the scene when they capture the guy from the dump truck, and then he's in the final scene when he's shooting off the people. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's like the only time you see Togusa. You never see him driving anywhere. You never see him doing anything else. That's all he does. but like
there's no scene of Bato and Tokusa in like a dump truck like hanging out waiting for like the scene of like when that guy's that has the fake family is gonna like flip out and everything like that. Like that whole scene just doesn't play out ever.
Yeah. So then
Major has to be the only character in every scene.
Yeah. So then basically, Major gets made. And then the next thing that happens is they like explain to her like, hey, you know, you were an immigrant coming into this country. What country is this? I don't know. You're an immigrant coming into this country, and the boat blew up or whatever, and you were drowning.
To assume this is Shadowrun, and they're all using Nuyen. Like the universal currency.
Yeah, I don't even know where we're at.
Everyone's geisha robots, but everyone's also like simultaneously like there's white people and black people and Japanese people all mashed, but nobody else really. Just those three.
Yeah, just those three. But
but there's no text anywhere, so you can't tell what language anything is because all the ads are somehow just like faces and stuff.
And there's English words for the company name, but then there's also like Japanese symbols on the street. So you're like, what the fuck is this town? Like, who built this shit? And so, like, okay, so she goes like, okay, here's your shitty backstory. And then she freaks out, and she goes and talks to this guy, and the guy's like, all right, well, I want her, because, like, I needed...
Oh, God, the worst writing of the whole movie.
Yeah, he's like, it's perfect. She worked out just as we planned. Now we're going to turn her into a killing machine.
The worst dialogue of the movie is like, she's better than AI, and she's better than human, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, you're boiling down a complicated human being into just a machine. And he's like, I don't see her as a machine. I see her as a weapon. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Great writing for your antagonist of the entire film.
Which, and then that was, like, I think for me, that was the moment where I went, oh. So...
That was one of the first times you gesticulated wildly at the screen.
Yeah, I was like, oh, so I guess we're not playing the same game. Like, I guess we didn't watch the same Ghost in the Shell movie.
Oh, boy.
And, like, that immediately was the stupidest thing you could ever say, because you're like, I spent billions of dollars to build this this cybernetic... human-robot hybrid.
But I just see her as a weapon.
But I don't want her to be a human hybrid. I just want her to be an AI.
Yeah, that's a real inconvenience to him the entire movie is that she's a person.
Yeah, that's the whole fucking crux of the thing is like, well, damn, I shouldn't have made it a human brain. No shit, asshole.
Yeah, all those geisha robots seem to do just fine on their own, not being humans. They seem pretty functional at whatever their job was, which is like being nightmare spiders that grab people and choke them out while they're hacking their brains.
So then after that whole scene, yeah, we go immediately to her standing on a roof, and people are in a room discussing things. I don't even know what they were discussing. It was something about, like, hey, you should have our cybernetics company in your country.
Here's an issue, is the movie moves very quickly from scene to scene, and just expects you to know a lot of stuff by name without going by much. So at one point, the villain kind of... he starts saying this one line over and over again about, like...
don't trust.
Like, don't ever collaborate with the specific group or die.
It's the
so he was hunting
Hanaka.
Hanaka.
I don't know. Yeah, Hanaka company.
The name of the group that made him, basically,
and her.
Yeah,
made everything. They made all the cybernetics apparently.
Yeah, like but yeah, we see this group of people sitting around like a tea table, and there's like a whole line of them, and there's geisha robots everywhere, and like he's talking, like one of them is bragging about like some sort of software that let his daughter like instantaneously learn French, is basically. Yeah. But he's targeted not for that reason, but because of his past. So like everyone in the room gets attacked and hacked by nightmare spider robots that never show up again.
Yeah,
that are all like trying to get secrets out of their brains and stuff like that. And so we get like the one of those iconic scenes where Major turns invisible. She strips naked and turns invisible and jumps off a building and shoots everybody.
Not
to save
naked.
Them all.
She's wearing.
Well, she's in her like flesh body,
but it's a suit.
Yeah,
because you can see it when it zooms in on her. You can see there's like a little lip.
It's incomprehensible. It's like it's totally unseeable. It's almost invisible as she becomes.
Yeah,
but it's rough because almost immediately you start to realize that this is just flat out a different movie with different motivations and different structures, but they're going to just like shamelessly reuse the scenes that happened in the first movie.
Yeah.
And this is a problem for me because like a similar thing happened in Walking Dead, and it was one of the biggest problems I had with a show that I still watch and I actually think is better now than it was before, is that In season 3 of Walking Dead, they handle this one concept where in the comics, what happens is that there's a character named Michonne who is horribly tortured by the villain of that particular arc. And then when she has a chance at revenge, she slips away and she, like, tortures him in return, more or less. And, like, kills his zombie daughter that he's trying to keep captive because he can't let go of his daughter after all this time, but she's a zombie this whole time, so she's, like, chained up. So kills off the daughter that he thinks is still kind of alive, and, like, slices him up, seems to mutilate his genitals even, like, just everything goes, like, shots fired in both directions. because she tortured and raped, he tortured and raped her.
Oh, okay.
It's like there's a lot of really nasty shit going back and forth. And because despite all the wounds inflicted on him, he ends up surviving, the war breaks out that climaxes the entire arc of that part of the comics. Major problem in the show is that they do the same scene where she kills the zombie daughter and attacks the governor and blinds him in one eye and all these other things and stuff like that. And they never establish the scene where she gets tortured in the first place.
So she just looks like a psychopath.
She looks crazy. Like, she looks completely nuts in the show because the reason why she acted that way in the comics never happened. What happens in the show is she's in the same town as the governor for a while, gets weirded out by him, thinks that he's up to no good, just fucking leaves. She just leaves, which is really sane, and I gotta applaud the character action in that moment. Like, wow, something seems wrong about this place. I'm just leaving now.
Yeah.
That's cool. But then she goes completely off the rails later in the season because they shamelessly reuse the scene without any of the context leading up to the scene.
Ah.
And that's the problem here, is that in Ghost of the Shell and other adaptations like this, they make a crucial mistake for me, which is that there's two ways to make an adaptation, for the most part. You either go wildly in a different direction and just accept it and fully embrace it and make everything up yourself from there on.
Yeah.
Or you try to really nail it get like everything about the exact thing, more or less. And that can even be true in microcosm, like an individual arc of a movie, like this particular 20 minutes of it or something could be totally made up, but has its own internal logic that's all invented in the movie. And that can work.
Yes.
The problem here is Ghost in the Shell is as a problem child territory of this kind of thing, where they constantly make up and re-engineer the entire story, but then shove in every visually iconic scene that happens in the entire original movie, devoid of any of the context or reason for them to happen.
Yeah.
And then you're just sort of baffled half the time.
Yeah, then you just kind of are confused as, like, what is that? Like, what? Because it's like, because you're forced to do these iconic scenes, you're stretching the plot to, like, accommodate for these things, but there's not any reason for them to exist.
Yeah.
Other than to just be iconic. And, like, then it just creates fractions in the whole story, because you're like, why did this guy do this thing? And, like, why, like, what?
It becomes a problem where they create the premise of this is what the movie's going to be, right? Like, it's going to be young adult fiction garbage.
Yeah.
Fine, go with that trope all the way through. But they're like, we're going to use these 5 scenes in the movie. And then you're like, okay, we've decided we're using that scene. Now we need to reverse engineer the steps to lead to that scene. And it usually doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because they change, like, everything about it. So yeah, like, we have the scene where she dives off the building and turns invisible, which is also recycled at the end of the movie because closure or something, I don't know. They reuse the scene where she's running around and fighting that one person invisibly in a shallow pool of water at the edge of town. They reuse the scene where, for some reason, they're on a boat in the middle of the bay.
Yeah.
They reuse the scene where she rips the panel off the spider tank and, like, destroys her body in the process.
Yes.
Like, they keep reusing exact scenes from the anime version, but usually devoid of any of the reasons why it happened, all the way down to even going to the point where, like, fucking the other android guy has to, like, awkwardly, like,
Kuzo?
like,
Yeah.
slimy jelly person CG, like, drag himself over to her so they can be side by side
For that iconic scene
to reuse the
for the
scene where she
sniper.
gets sniped in the head.
Yeah.
Where he gets sniped in the head. Like, everything like that has to be reused shot for shot.
Yeah.
But all the scenes around them are not anything like what led to those scenes in the actual source material.
Yeah, and so, like, and then going back, like, again, we keep jumping back and forth, but it's because this movie's such a jumble of fucking
It's because every time we
confusion.
start describing a scene, you stumble on one of the new things. That's
Yeah.
why the movie was kind of a mess.
And so she jumps off the building, she busts through the window, and tries to save all these people by shooting everything in sight. And it turns into like it turns into this weird thing where she shoots all these people, or she shoots all the bad guys, breaks the robot, and then like kind of looks at the robot really weird, and then like Bato comes up and he says like, "Hey, you're injured," and she looks down and there's like a little like some of her internals are showing.
It was a super weird injury.
Yeah, and
she somehow scraped off the bottom of her wrist.
Yeah, the bottom of her wrist is
like
gone.
Like, is it supposed to be a bullet wound that grazed off or something, or is it like maybe her going through the window?
I think it was just going through the window, probably like cut it. But
it's really just a contrivance because later on she needs to meet with the doctor, so they need to keep coming up with excuses for her to meet the doctor.
And so like he says that to her, and she just like has an attitude, and then like goes invisible and just pushes through a bunch of soldiers.
Well, she also says you're not the same.
Yeah.
Talking about the machine person, like you're different, which is true because that thing doesn't have a brain.
Yeah,
it's literally just it's like the equivalent of like a RC car, but really advanced and human shaped.
Just an AI controlled thing. And then she just storms the fuck off,
which is hilarious because she turns invisible and just slams through like 7 people, and they're just walking down the hallway.
Just like regular troops that are trying to do their job, and like they're just like being bumped into. They're like, "What the fuck?"
It's a weird physical comedy, like sassy moment that never comes up again.
Yeah,
because it's not part of her character, but they just did that one time because this thing's not consistently written.
And so like immediately after that, she just like goes to the doctor.
Yeah,
and the doctor's like. Oh, no. Then right after that, she's at her house. She's like laying down in her house, sleeping or whatever. She like takes a shower. I don't know what she was doing. She was in a machine laying there. Like lights were going on, and she was wearing some kind of like plastic wrap. And then she
might be where she like sleeps.
No, because she was sleeping on the bed. She was laying down.
Yeah.
And then she gets up, unplugs herself, and then she like goes and stands.
She walks up to a hologram cat that disappears, making loud dubstep noises, and then we never explain why that was there or why it went away. Also, yeah, every hologram in this entire film makes loud dubstep noises for some reason.
Yeah, it's like wow.
Oh no, I get it. I remember now. So at the moment, it didn't make sense, but I think that was the glitches of her past life.
Yeah,
right. I don't know why they make dubstep noises though.
Because they're not supposed to be there.
It should be creepy. It should be like, oh wow, she saw a glimpse of like a weird a weird building in the middle of the road, and it should be like, zoom, like just like that. But
yeah,
it's I'm like, why are you making that sound? Calm down. I'm watching the movie. It's in the middle of the screen. You don't need to like alert me that something's weird is happening.
It would have been better if it was chimes.
Yeah.
Like if it was like, like you see a thing and it's like doing a chime, and it kind of just fades away, and you're like, oh, that's eerie. Like what was that? But no, yeah, when you see something, it's like, and you're like, oh.
What if you saw this thing fade in, and you're like, what the fuck is that? And then it just disappears in one frame to the sound of like a wood block.
Oh, just
like the dunk, and it's like poof, like not even a disappearing effect, but it's just gone. Just anything cooler than like a dubstep noise from like a Transformers movie, just losing its mind. Every time any like hologram does anything.
Yeah. And so she like basically sees a fake cat, and then she's like, well, I guess I gotta go.
I gotta take my meds because I've got schizophrenia apparently.
Yeah, she like takes some. I don't even know how that works.
It was weird.
She like takes
like we're watching Legion or something. Like she's just losing her mind over the film.
Yeah,
but actually not because it's just her past.
The medicine makes no sense either because it's like she sticks it into the portholes, and is like that going to her brain. Or
I assume there's other ports somewhere in her back of her neck that are for like fluid intake as opposed to like data.
Yeah, like I don't know why you would stick your headphones into the same place you put your medicine. I
assume there's multiple ports back there. I don't think we get a ton of good up close looks.
That's like the weird thing is that Ghost in the Shell itself never touches on that. That's never a thing that happens. Like
fluids.
Yeah, like no one just eats from the back of their head. So like it's kind of
wonder why she can't just use her mouth for that kind of thing.
Well, because it has to go to her brain, and every other like there is no like blood stream, so like it can't carry medicine through the blood. So she has to like directly inject it into her brain, which is like I guess it's on the.
You'd think that the port that they use to inject stuff into their own body would be somewhere they could see. So they could do it without just like going, hope I got it.
Yeah.
I guess they're robots, so they can just magically line it up because Yeah, like maybe
Like-
they can just maybe they're just always right. But
Yeah.
it seems like just as basic usability of technology. I'm wondering
It's-
like why is the back of the head?
Yeah,
But it's-
and it's
it's
also
fine.
weird that it's not like a clip. Like you would imagine it'd be like a magnet clip that goes
Yeah.
in for a second and comes out, but no, it's like this really squishy liquid substance that she has to like push together like a glow stick, like just to break it like a glow stick, push it together to take the caps off, and then she like just sticks it in herself. It's dumb.
But we later find out that at the end of the movie, we find out that chemical was not to help her with her like hallucinations.
It's
or
supposed to stabilize her brain
they were
and her
telling
body.
her, they were telling her that it was like that chemical from Deus Ex: Human Revolution, where it's like it helps prevent rejection.
Yeah.
But actually, what it's doing is suppressing her memories and like messing with her brain so she doesn't remember the fact that she was like a kidnapped person that
Yeah.
was forced into this entire thing.
So then basically she just like takes the meds, bounces out, goes to the doctors, and then like gets her entire arm ripped off. And because like all the skin and the muscle and stuff are gone, and the doctor's like,
yeah.
your hand's all fucked up, and she's like, all right, and then it starts.
Yeah, she has like
itself.
a slightly screwed up wrist, so their response is to take everything off her entire arm and then put it back on.
but
from
only to like a
scratch.
point, which is interesting
Yeah.
because I guess they can just reattach that.
It's
Because they just like 3D print the skin back
Yeah.
over it as if like somehow that's okay.
There's a really weird experience where the movie opens with her body being constructed, and then they spend like the first half of the movie having her laying down in various positions with a doctor of various kinds, as like her various parts of her body get 3D printed back on over and over again
Yeah.
because she's always losing chunks of her body in every scene. So like they keep trying to like they can't not have us look at that scene to the point where I think you spend more time watching her skin being grafted on than you do watching her watching her fight in the movie ever.
Sort of. It's almost the
long
same.
scenes
Yeah.
of her just watching like the slow progression of this thing, just really lazily just slopping on like skin taffy as
Yeah.
it magically groups together and becomes super skin and works out.
Really lazy. It's interesting too because there's a lot of like. Here's the thing that's upsetting is that the movie itself visually is interesting. There's a lot of stuff going on visually that's like, wow, this took a lot of effort. There's a lot of like,
Oh yeah, looking at the movie is the best part of the movie.
yeah, but then the moment you take just a fraction of a second to think beyond like that, wow, that looks really interesting, it all fucking falls apart. Everything about that world makes literally no sense. And like, I'm not saying that it has to be this, like it doesn't have to be this like, oh, it has to make sense to me because I live in this current time. Like I'm saying that like even in Ghost in the Shell, the city made sense. You got the city.
Yeah, when you look at
like who lives here?
when you look at what Ghost in the Shell, the original movie, you can kind of buy it as a location. But when you look at this movie, it's like looking at a movie from the guy that made like Fifth Element.
Yeah,
Where it's like it's just ideas and visual
it's like a
designs.
theme park.
It's like watching a musical.
Yeah,
where just
like
shit's happening on the screen. Like all the way down to like basic usability stuff becomes a problem in the movie at times because they're at like a machine equivalent of a morgue at one point where there's like a geisha like deactivated body laying down on a gurney and there's someone operating on it. And it's clearly body-shaped gurneys for body-shaped people and machines.
yeah.
And you can clearly see the geisha fitting into the middle of this pad on the middle of the gurney. But then in both directions from her, there's like 2 feet of clearance in both directions where it just is such a wide bed that the person that's working on her and operating on this machine is leaning over by like more than a 45-degree angle. Like she's practically laying over the gurney to operate on this machine, which is both too wide to be operated on by people because you're so far away from your subject, but also because it's hanging from the ceiling at a fixed thing of an exact ring, like it's not adjustable.
Yeah.
So you can't lower it so you can reach it better, or like a floor gurney would be. Like it's all like everything's so focused on whatever the visual design is that nothing makes sense any other level past that. And by the way, they completely dropped the ball on developing the city as a location visually.
Yeah, I don't know where it is. I don't know where I am.
I don't know.
And it doesn't tell you. It never fucking tells you where the fuck you are.
Because every scene happens inside of like a room.
Yeah.
And then every time they're trying to show you the city, it's all helicopter shots of some city with giant holograms over the city.
the
of, like
hologram
giant super
thing,
people
man.
and stuff.
They just wanted you to know that shit was there.
Yeah, like I'm not against the idea of the holograms themselves, but they never have that scene from the original Ghost in the Shell where like we're street level and looking around at what the city looks like. Like when I suddenly saw Togusa in like a ramen shop, I'm like, that's part of the city.
Like,
we've never established any elements of what this place looks like visually, so like it looks like he's in a totally different location from the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it's really weird, and like even ground level, there's stuff that kind of just is there because it's like noise. Where like when they're driving on the street, like there's arrows on the street that move to show you what direction to go in.
Yeah.
But then there's also arrows just printed onto the street that don't move. That show you what direction to go in.
There's also giant fish going in front of your windshield.
Yeah, there's also just like holograms going through the middle of the fucking street. And it's like, who the fuck lives here? How do you do anything?
How many auto accidents do they have every year to fish
even the
holograms?
Cars, they're like taxi cars with fucking holograms around them that were like occupied and like giant hippopotamus on top. And I was like, what the fuck is... This is stupid. This makes no sense. Like, I get the... Like, I can understand the concept, like, in the beginning, it shows these, like, paramedic guys, or, like, you know, nurses, and they have, like glasses on. Like, they look like, what's his face from Star Trek? I can't remember his face.
Geordi?
No, the guy with the guy with the glasses that go all the way around.
Geordi?
Yeah, that is Geordi, yeah.
Yeah, Geordi LaForge.
Yeah, they look like Geordi, where they have, like, these hologram glasses that go all the way around.
Rainbow.
Yeah,
he's reading Rainbow, guy.
And they print out like
LeVar Burton.
And they print out the vitals of the patient, which is like, okay, I don't think you can see very well out of it, but I can take it works. Whatever. That's fine.
There's a nod towards applicableness for that technology.
There's a difference between cyberpunk and just plain fucking impossible. And, like, you can't drive in a city where there's fish in the middle of the road.
No,
like,
giant hologram fish just flopping through the road.
And it's like, and not even that, I shudder to think the power consumption for this city. There are holograms on every fucking building that are 20 stories tall.
They're as big as the building.
And they're just moving all the time, and they're dumping water,
and for some reason, they all have to be made of Lego blocks.
Yeah, they all, like, break.
All of them are simultaneously holograms that are made of cubes.
Yes.
Like, they're all Minecraft. They look like Minecraft sculptures that are moving.
Yeah, it's really weird.
You don't know why.
And it's like, that's just how data is. Because, like, even when the Major goes and, like, does a dive, like, everything is all blocky. Like, it's made out of blocks. And it's like,
because artificiality is right angles and something visual design or something. Like, I don't know.
Like, I don't know. I guess ones and zeros would be boring. So just show it all as blocks? I don't fucking...
And yet the delineations of, like, how their skin is divided on their android bodies is never blocky.
No, it's all like...
They're never covered in squares. And they have really specific line patterns of where their body is apparently cut up. That's all based on musculature instead.
So after she visits the doctor, she goes back to get yelled at the base. Because they, like, go and do a debriefing. And the first fucking thing that you notice that seems completely fucking stupid is that apparently they put a guy in charge who doesn't speak English at all. He only speaks Japanese. That is all he does. And not only that, they could not figure out where would be a good place to put subtitles.
So they just show up. Moment to moment,
wherever the fuck they want to be.
So for anyone wondering, if you watch the original Ghost in the Shell and you know old man McFunny Hair that leads the team, he's in this one too. And I'm pretty sure he's a relatively famous actor. I'm pretty sure I recognized him immediately, actually. But he speaks Japanese the entire film with subtitles, and no one else does. In the entire film.
Not even Togasa, who is Japanese!
Yeah, it's the weirdest scenario.
And everyone understands him.
Yeah.
So everyone knows Japanese, but no one wants to speak Japanese, except for this guy.
That's the implication, is that somehow just everyone knows Japanese. Because if it was translating Japanese live, you would expect to hear like a different voice replacing him.
Yeah.
But it's just his voice in Japanese with subtitles, which implies that everyone perfectly understands him. And I mean everyone. The good guys, the bad guys, everyone he talks to on comms, people that he has holographic meetings with, the final fucking confrontation of the entire movie.
I guess the Prime Minister, because
everyone
he
speaks
works
Japanese
for the Prime
in this movie, but no one speaks it out loud ever.
He's the only one!
So he's just having these really rude conversations where he's that one asshole that refuses to speak the language everyone else is speaking in the room, which he clearly speaks English because he can understand everyone. So like, it just makes him seem like a dick for the entire movie.
Also, everyone's faces look so confused when they cut to them when he's talking, because no one has any fucking idea what he's saying. Yeah, the actors don't know what Japanese is.
No.
So they're just sitting there like, I guess he's saying these things to me. I will assume that it is based on the script 100%, and then I should react accordingly. I mean, for all intents and purposes, this guy could just be like, you're all pieces of shit. I hate being on this movie. Why am I even here?
Maybe he was.
But these actors don't know, and they just react like, you done? Okay, yes. Well, that will never happen again. And it's like, why did you do this?
And I was really amused by the fact that they went through the extra mile to give him the ridiculous shaped hair.
The haircut, yeah.
Like, he has his haircut, and Major has her haircut.
Sort of?
Kind of, the bottom part.
Yeah. But it's blue?
The points of it. But then, like, Togusa looks nothing like Togusa in any possible... He doesn't have, like, 80s fucking, like glam rock hair.
Yeah.
Like, he's just got slightly longer hair in the back, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how the other characters were supposed to be.
I mean, Bato looked fine, I guess, because Bato's just short. It just has the buzz cut. He just has the fucking buzz cut. Everybody else is... I don't know who the girl is, because she's not a character in Ghost in the Shell. I don't know who... I think the black guy was supposed to be a combination of two people.
Maybe.
He's supposed to be the sniper guy and the fat guy on the team.
Which are both just cut from the movie.
Yes. Which are just both cut and merged into this one guy.
And somehow made more forgettable.
Yeah. And then there's like... I
got a fake liver. That's my characterization. See you at the end.
Yeah, he basically, like, he makes a comment about, like, oh, were you out getting cybernetic enhancements? It's like, no, why do you say that? And he's like, yeah, I got a liver. It's fucking
I got a liver so I could drink all the time.
Yeah, so I could just be drunk all the time. And I'm like,
I'll see you in approximately 50 minutes in this movie.
And I'm like, is that how livers work? Like, because don't you still need a robotic stomach so that way, you, like...
I don't know.
Because you're still absorbing.
At some point, you don't want to be too augmented, right? Because then you risk, like, becoming like Wolverine, who, like, I don't think can get drunk. Or, like, there's all these Wolverine-like characters in fiction that, like... They get too good at healing in various ways, like they just can never get an actual buzz going on.
This is off topic, a lot of off topic, but in Ghost in the Shell, that's discussed. Like in Standalone Complex, they discuss that. Because they make the comment that, because Togusa makes a comment to Bato, and he's like, what, like, you know, like, what's even the point of eating or drinking? You're like, you don't even have a real stomach. And he's like, yeah, but you just do it because it feels natural. And he's like, we just eat these, like, little protein bars, and they don't do anything. They just go in our stomach and they just vanish. Like, they basically just get decomposed, and then they turn into nothing, like, just dust.
It's an expensive habit of just feeling natural.
Because that was the thing. Like, I think Togusa smokes. Yeah. And I think Bato was making fun of him. He's like, why do you smoke? That's a waste of money. He's like, you fucking eat food. You can't eat food. He's like, you can't even get drunk. And he's like, oh, you can get drunk because they have like a thing where they make it so your brain experiences intoxication. Yeah. But you don't actually, you're not intoxicated. It just makes your brain think it is. You
reminded me of something that was really jarring to me in the movie, which is that in the original Ghost in the Shell setting, there's like a weird, like especially the original movie, like there's a weird grunge to everything that makes cigarettes not feel weird.
Yes.
But this movie uses cigarettes at one point, and it feels super weird.
It feels way out of place.
Everything is so clean and futury and covered in 17 holograms that I'm like, you guys still have real cigarettes?
Yeah.
Like, even if smokers exist, I'm like, they really, like, you roll up a thing in paper and burn it? Like,
wouldn't you just, like inject it into you or something?
Nothing surrounding them in the entire movie, especially those scenes up to that point in that movie, ever even slightly fit with the idea of that practice being a thing people do, because like it just the world's so ridiculously futury and impossible looking that like that kind of thing stands out so much all of a sudden.
And not only that, it was like they did it. It's a twofer.
I mean, they couldn't even keep normal gurneys. How they have normal cigarettes?
Yeah, it's frustrating because not only does it happen really wildly random. Like like the Major walks up. It's like when the doctor's dealing with the geisha, and then the Major walks up and she's like, "I'm gonna dive into that bitch." And so then the doctor's like, "All right, well, I guess I don't want you. No, you can't do that. Let me go sit down on my panel where I can control that." So she like gets up,
smoke.
Yeah, she gets up, sits down at the at her table, and then lights a cigarette, and then puffs it, and then the Major's like, "I'm diving in," and she's like, "That's not a good idea," and then puts her cigarette out.
In her like alcohol thing full of cigarettes.
She puts it like in a cup that has water,
other cigarette butts,
but like you keep that on your table with this bunch of other computers.
She seems to have a Pavlovian response where whenever there's a scene she's going to take her eyes off or her eyes get taken off, she also smokes in that scene.
Yeah, and so
but two character traits is her eyes come off and she smokes.
And not only that, but she doesn't. It's like the second time you see her. when she like she's getting killed. She like takes her, or like she's having a cigarette, but she's like, it's zoomed in so close to her face you can tell she's not actually smoking the cigarette. She's just like putting it.
Of course, you'd pick up on
that.
that.
She's like putting it to her mouth and then going like,
just blow on the cigarette.
Yeah, just like blowing on the cigarette basically. And I'm like, why did you even include this? Like, at least get...
She probably doesn't know how to smoke.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, then at least get somebody...
I don't know how to smoke.
Well, that's my thing. You don't have to put the smoking in.
No,
I don't know. I don't even know who that character is. She's not an established character from the show.
That's her character trait is she smokes. If she doesn't smoke in every scene you see her in, then they're afraid you'll not remember who she is.
The removing eyes part didn't make me remember her. like, come on. Like, it's not like this woman was devoid of anything interesting. She took her eyeballs off and plugged things into them. Like, she got the shit into this bargain. Everybody else gets ports on the back of her neck. She's got to take her eye sockets off.
Which, by the way, they, speaking of, like, that murder and everything, like, they really hurt the entire creepy factor that the villain had in that movie. Because he was a faceless, distant thing that kept controlling people, and you couldn't tell where it was coming from and what was doing it. And if he spoke through someone, you were like, oh, that's fucking creepy. Like, when that one time, like, there's a body of that. It wasn't like a naked body of that one blonde girl or something was like talking through somebody else with his voice at one scene, and it was like really creepy and off-putting and stuff. And then but then the new movie, like, he just shows up as like a Grim Reaper dude on a regular basis, and says the same sentence over and over again.
Yeah, because in the old movie, he was just because the difference too is like the villain that we think is the villain. He's not
the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, he's basically the Winter Soldier, where he's just like a dude who's like, I don't remember life.
I'm actually your best buddy. It turns out at the end of the movie. Yeah, I'm wearing I'm wearing dark makeup, and I'm hired to get the guy that actually made us.
Yeah, and he's like, but his entire like character arc. Oh my god,
I didn't realize till just now that he's the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, like his entire character arc is like, I am the bad. And I remember nothing. And then she's like,
he can't decide if it's supposed to be my Microsoft Sam sounding or not. He keeps sounding roboticized, then not, like, back and forth.
Yeah, he keeps, like somehow is everything about him but his... Like, everything about him is broken.
It sounded like every single time he spoke, he had a different voice filter on. So you were more confused by what his voice was supposed to sound like.
And so, like, and so basically, the Major goes and tries to hack and find him. And she, like, goes through a disco club or whatever, like a strip club, and she's, like, shifting through people, and they turn to squares, and she, like, goes and sees him, and he's like, "Bagah!" And she, like, and he, like, it starts hacking her somehow, I guess, because he's just, like, so he was hanging out in the geisha's memory, waiting for someone to show up, frozen in position, and then the moment someone showed up, he was like, "Eh."
It was a generally unhelpful visual aid for hacking.
Yes, and then
it's like I'm not sure what half this thing is supposed to symbolize.
Yeah, and so then hacking in that show in that like, universe, I use
force push on you, which makes you have a seizure, but then know exactly where I am, I guess.
Yes, and so like the hacking in this was like a bunch of people in black spandex running against her and
flash mob.
Yeah, it was just a flash mob.
It's a flash mob of flesh mob.
Yeah, it was just a flesh mob, and they were just like grabbing her and trying to pull her down, and that was it. And then so Bato's like, "Hey, you need to like get her out of there," and she's like, "I can't." And he's like, "Okay," and then he just unplugs her, and then that's okay, I guess. There's no repercussions for that. So then she just sits up, and she's like, "I know where he is. Let's go."
And when the moment that happened, I was like, "You unplugged her while she was autosaving."
Yeah.
Like, all data's lost. I have to start over now.
I was really, and that's the other thing that's really weird too, is that they never established that the Major is good at hacking. Because if
you judge by that scene, it seems like she's really bad at hacking.
Yes,
she didn't seem like she did a good job at all.
Not only that, but like she's like the least capable thing in the planet because they wiped her entire memory. So they're like, nothing. Mm-hmm. You have a year to learn stuff, and it's like, what? Why would you? What kind of weapon?
She apparently became a super agent with amazing skills in 1 year only.
Yeah.
Which might have been, like, because she's a robot person, but you could at least, like, show some of her, like, wow, you learn fast. Like, no, we just skipped the whole year.
Yeah. And so they're like, okay, well, let's go to the nightclub, I guess. So they go to, like, the fucking nightclub. They bring the girl along to give Bato guns later. And then, so they go into the fucking nightclub, And so she's like trying to find this guy. She gets taken, put handcuffs on and attached to a stripper pole.
Yeah.
Which apparently she can't break at all.
And then she just starts getting, like, just shocked over and over again.
Yeah.
Like, to a weird amount. Like, it started to feel like Scarlett Johansson was all like, yeah, so we're going to do, like, 10 takes, and you're going to, like, pick one of them, right? And then they use, like, 4 of them, like, back to back or something. Because she gets, like, tasered by the stun baton just over and over for, like, a weird amount of time, cutting back and forth between her being electrocuted and Bato just being at the bar doing this thing. While the bartender just glares at him like somebody who definitely was a good bartender.
I thought he was what's his face, the machete guy.
No, what?
I thought he was him.
Danny Trejo?
Yeah, I thought he was Danny Trejo at first. I was like, is that Danny Trejo?
Whoa!
And I was like, oh wait, no, it's not.
It's just somebody who undoes beer bottles angrily.
Well, he was clearly Hispanic. He had he was
like half machine.
Yeah, but he was like half machine, had a bunch of tattoos. And I was like, that almost looks like him. And he had the same haircut, where he's like had the same hair, the same long beard in the front. I was like, is that him? And then I was like, oh no, it's not, because he's like thin.
No,
and that's not him. But yeah, he's like the worst bartender ever, where he doesn't ask Bato what drink he wants. Bato just puts his thumb on a thumb payment system,
and then he just glares at him angrily.
Yeah, then he just gets mad at him, hands him a bottle, and Bato's just like, I guess I'll drink it, and then just starts drinking it. And I was like,
I'm angry about doing my job.
Yeah,
bartender man.
And then and so then the major, like, I guess can't talk in the stripper room. I guess they put like a communications blocking field in the stripper room.
Sure.
And
the only time that happens.
Yeah. And so it was a worthwhile investment.
Nothing says convenient plot contrivances like when you invent a rule for one scene that never comes up again or is never established beforehand.
Yeah, and so she, like, and
I guess she couldn't ever tell going in that was there, even though she's a super cyborg. She couldn't tell that she was going into a jamming room.
Yeah, and apparently, like, I guess because she's a robot that can rip open, like, the top of a military-grade spider tank, she can't break a stripper pole with handcuffs on. So she just kind of, like, took it. She just sat there and let this happen.
Yeah, it's one of the shocking... It's one of the many cattle prod scenes that seem to happen, which is a reoccurring thing throughout the film.
Yes.
Like, every now and then a guy will just start shocking her over and over again, and the movie doesn't really like to establish that strongly what effect that even has on her.
She just...
Because like in the stripper scene, she gets shocked a few times, and then she's like, "Oh well, I guess I'm done now," and she just decides to just ruin everybody. And I'm like, "What happened? Like what?"
Yeah,
what?
she gets fed up being shocked. I guess
that's 4 times is enough. I'm over it now.
Yeah,
it's like, well, so that got me off. Time to continue forward.
Yeah,
I don't understand what's happened.
She just, like, after being shocked a couple of times and after the 12th time of her going like, "Hey, does anyone hear me?" and nobody responding, she finally is like, maybe I should just beat these guys up. So she just beats them up, and then just...
And this segment was one of the things where it shows how rushed the whole movie feels, and that every scene goes too fast, and is usually cutting between multiple perspectives really rapidly.
Yes.
And the overall scenes are usually really short, and they often barely establish why they're there in the first place. They barely establish what they accomplish, and then they just move on. And there's like very little time for characterization or developments or anything interesting to ever happen.
Yeah.
And you just fucking move on with your life so often. And there's so many weird scenes. Like in this, and also this is the scene where, like, at the end of all of this, they reunite, and she just barely almost catches up with Reaper Man, but not actually, and he gets away because he was a hologram the whole time again. Yeah. And they blow up, and Bato's eyes, but only his eyes get injured. Because this is the same. That's when they're at the bar. That's when Bato ends up losing his eyes.
Right.
Because they have to conveniently. Because just like I've talked about before, like when they reuse exact things from the previous movie, they're like, "Oh, he's got those eye things. So, okay, we're gonna put the eye things in the movie, but we want it to be a reveal. All right, now we need to reverse engineer a scene where he hurts his eyes, so we can put that in." And so what happens is an entire room explodes, and Major shoves Bato out of the way, but somehow he perfectly gets his eyes blinded in a way that doesn't scar any part of his body in any way at all, except for losing his eyes entirely.
Yeah, he doesn't even lose his hair.
His face isn't even burned.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, screaming, and now he's like, now you got silly eyes. Here you go. He's just silly eyes that will constantly make whirring noises. Yeah, get used to that. I'm sure it's really loud inside your head.
Yeah, it's...
Couldn't oil that up a little bit?
It's really weird. Yeah, because then, like, yeah, he's, like, set up a bomb there because I guess he knew someone was going to show up at that place, which I'm glad the establishment just
Even
lets
though
a
he's
bomb.
apparently not trying to kill her, supposedly.
Yeah, he didn't want to kill her.
He's trying to connect with her, but then keeps trying to kill her in every other scene, it seems.
Yeah.
For some reason.
But, so then Bato gets his goofy eyes, which he makes only one expression when he gets them originally. Like that scene where she's leaving and he can like see it through the wall or something.
I can look. He looks at her boobies.
Oh yeah.
He looks at the nurse's boobs. I'm like, ha! Like I can do that.
Yeah, and he
now.
makes like some weird expression where the eyes like push in on themselves. And I was like, oh, I guess he has like full control over like how those eyes work.
It's just the awkward makeup.
Yeah,
because they have to. Because he's a real actor with real eyeballs, they have to put a weird patch of thing over his eyes that themselves are like sealed to his face to make it look like they're over his eyes. Which means if he ever moves his eyes or makes any facial expressions, those weird towers sticking out of his face are just going to move with the skin. And that's exactly what happens sometimes, which is why they just make him not express half the time.
Yes. So now Bato has silly eyes. And then they go...
By the way, because I saw the first trailer and saw how dumb they looked, I was really hoping they were just gone. Because the movie opens with them not having them.
Yes.
So I was like, oh, maybe they just like really realized that was a terrible idea based on the trailer and just did a few reshoots. Because I'm totally cool with them just not having silly eyes.
I actually didn't... I thought he looked super weird because he already looks like Guy Fieri.
Guy Fieri?
Or Guy Fieri, yeah. He already looks like Guy Fieri, but I was like...
Guy Fieri.
I was like, I'll overlook it. But like the moment he got the silly eyes, I was like, oh, now he's just now he's just got... Like,
you know what he needed?
What?
He needed like thick-ass, like goggle-sized eye
I thought that's what they were gonna do!
Yeah.
I thought that's what they were fucking gonna do! Like why wouldn't you do that?
I don't know if this is true or not, because I have fuzzy memory, but he should have looked like Hellboy from Pacific Rim. Whatever Ron Perlman was wearing, doesn't he have like glasses on like that in that movie?
Oh yeah.
He should have looked like fucking Ron Perlman or something. Like anything besides what they get, where he's got tiny little fuch caplets sticking out of his eyeballs that move with his eyes.
It's like someone took. It's so dumb. It's like someone took like a cylinder tube, put a fucking camera in it, and then just stuck it on his eye and was like, good enough.
And you know it's just a hollow tube because all of those little micro moments where you can kind of see a lens type thing whirring around inside are of course CG.
Yes.
So like it's one of the only things in the movie that looks truly cheap besides all the scenes where somebody is entirely CG, which look really fake.
Yeah, those look really
They look
bad.
like jelly people.
Yeah.
It looks like just to skip straight to that sort of reoccurring thing is that whenever somebody animates in this movie and they're a fully 3D person, they look like Neo looked like in Matrix Reloaded when he fights with the pipe, and he's clearly a video game character, and he's just like woof, and he's so wobbly and weird with all his movements. Because like there's a scene, one of the first times they fully use it is during the spider tank scene where Major is like running along debris like fucking Final Fantasy VII Advent Children in the most comical way ever, and she just looks like this weird jelly person, and it looks way too it looks too much like it's that weird stuff that happens in stuff like the Philips CDI Zelda games where clearly somebody made keyframes, but then the person that was supposed to do the frames in between that for the animation just did mathematical averages along the way, so it's such a perfect and smooth swimmy motion for every animation, and none of it works like people move, and it's so swimmy and fake looking that you can't buy it for a second.
No.
And I had to stop myself from laughing, and I think you just actually did laugh when they tried to do the side-by-side ending scene, and Reaper Mick ripped apart pants dude is clawing his way forward towards Major, and he looks hilarious because he looks like he's made of actual jelly.
Like everything, like this arm and to here are clearly him. The rest is all green screen. So when he goes like this, it looks normal, but the rest of his body's like, sliding along.
Every motion feels like it's moving too fast and too slow somehow at the same time. And all the fleshy bits look like a waterbed.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, what the fuck
so
happened
bad.
to the CG of this movie?
It's impressive how they fucked it up.
Maybe that's why all the holograms are Legos, so that you don't question what they look like otherwise.
Yeah.
Because they look really messed up.
It's interesting. So then so immediately Bato gets silly eyes. He what do they even do after that? They go back.
The movie gets a little hard to follow.
Yeah, the movie
this is around the time where, because she saved him, which is like the first mission since she was just getting repaired a second ago, but she got blown up, so now she's getting 3D printed again.
Yeah.
Which means that they're talking about the glitches that are her past again, and she's getting her bodies rebuilt again, and she's talking to the same doctor lady again. So they could just reinforce, like, oh, look how artificial she looks. Look how much we like to use this one weird taffy effect on her body. And look how much we keep bringing up the idea that these pills, this medication she takes, keeps the glitches away. Because they keep reminding you this to the point where it gets silly.
Yeah.
But then this builds up to one of the most squandered moments of the entire movie. Which is, one of the things that stuck with me in the original movie was those two random guys talking in the truck. And, like, this guy's talking about his past and stuff like that, and just sharing stories, which we will later find out are completely fabricated and not real.
Yeah.
In this one, he gets like half a sentence off before he gets mind controlled. Like, he basically is like, oh, if it plays her, it hurts her, she should play piano. And then it's like, bzz, now we're killer robots. I'm like, that's not how that scene went.
Yeah.
So, like, they're establishing the same scene, but not having any of the impact or depth to it.
And there's no, like, and it's interesting, too, because, like, in the original Ghost in the Shell, you understood exactly why that character did what he did. Yeah,
and why their behavior seemed tragic.
Yeah, like, he was doing what he was doing because he thought he was sending money. Like, he was doing a thing where he's like, all he thought he was doing is just like swiping a card for a guy, and the guy was gonna give him money that he can use to help out his family.
Yep.
But, like, in this, he's just eating ramen in a bag, and then all of a sudden, they're taking mind control over. They ram into a car. They both get out with fucking weapons.
By the way, let's just cover the fact that, like, we're talking about the idea of recycling scenes without the purpose for them being there anymore.
Yeah.
Like, we talked about the later scene that happens in this scene, which is when they fight in the water and everything. But this beginning part's also recycled because in the original movie, if I remember correctly, his false family and false backstory is all there to motivate him to do the things he's going to do.
Yes.
But in this movie, he has the same fake background for some reason, but then he just goes... they get mind controlled. They literally, like, a switch flips in their brain, and they're literally, like, mindless drones that do the exact thing. Like, the guy's like, I'm push the buttons in your brain, and they're like, putting down the ramen, I'm driving like a robot, I'm now assaulting people. It's like, why does he have a fake background?
Yeah, why did you
if it's not his motivation?
Like, why did you even erase his memories?
And so they can do the same interrogation scene where it's like, but my daughter, I need to talk to my daughter. I'm like, but this doesn't mean anything because his daughter doesn't exist, but also is not fabricated to make him do things.
That's the thing, is like, there's so much about the original Ghost in the Shell. The whole thing is supposed to be a fucking entire commentary on the concept of putting your brain in a robot body.
Artificiality.
Yeah, it's the idea of, like, what makes you different, what makes a human separate from an AI.
Yeah.
And that's the entire crux of the situation.
Like, that's what comes up with, like these video games like Nier and stuff like that. Like, you hit a point where, like, you start finding out over the course of the franchise of Nier that basically humans don't exist anymore, and literally everyone you think is human is some kind of android trying to be human and things like that. And there's so many levels of artificiality introduced that you start questioning the point of any of it and what humanity means and what you're even are trying to achieve. And that's what the first Ghost in the Shell did too. Like, that's the big inspiration here. Yeah. This one doesn't do any of that.
No. This one doesn't even understand the concept.
No.
Like, it threw that, and, like, so it threw the scene together. So first of all, it takes the guy from the trash guy, the trash collectors. He wasn't even the original bad guy. All he did was he swiped cards, and then they arrested him. So they combined that guy and the real guy who was setting up the cards into one character, so they could do that. So
he was being manipulated by no one, almost.
Yes, he was being manipulated by nobody.
It's really weirdly roundabout.
Yeah, and so like, basically they go to try to kill the doctor that the Major hangs out with all the time, and they show, like, the Section 9 shows up, and they're like, oh, we're gonna stop it, and so one of the guys just books it. For some fucking reason, he was still being mind controlled, but he just, like, runs away and, like, he went to the ocean for, like, some reason, like, because he can't swim because he's artificial, and they just sink.
Him running would have made more sense before based on the idea that like he was like,
he was just an innocent person.
If he was like going based on some kind of motivation.
Yeah,
but instead he was like
he was still under mind control.
There's a clear scene that's meant to imply that like he's 100% being controlled like an RC car or something. Like he's just doing things he has to do.
And to have the mind control guy just run away makes no sense because it's like I don't because the idea of you mind controlling somebody is to just have them do the job regardless. Like it's not like you care if they survive. So why did you have this guy run off at all? And so the Major goes, does the invisible fight scene in the lake, beats the shit out of him, takes him back, and then, it's like the scene where he's like, but my family, but my kid, and she's like, you don't have none of that. She, like, shows a picture of himself, and she's like, is this your kid? And he's like, yeah, that's my kid.
But what was confusing is wasn't Major showing a picture of himself at himself?
Yes.
And he somehow thought it was his daughter, which is weird, and it's all right.
Yeah.
But this scene sets up something that starts happening throughout the film too that bothers me, which is that when you look at the visual design of a location, you can tell exactly what the scene is designed for. Because this is a movie that constantly has like, oh, this is going to happen in a scene. Let's reverse engineer the entire room and everything about it to make this exact thing happen for the scene. It's like, for example, the opening scene was like, oh, here's an entire table pointing at a giant window so that we can have the snipe everybody in the head scene as she comes in through the window. In this case, the moment I see this weird noose contraption that he's walking around with in this interrogation room, I'm like, he's gonna hang himself. That's literally like, why would you even have one? Why would you even have a thing in an interrogation room where the interrogated guy can just hang themselves?
I thought that was really weird that it was just just short enough that you could snap your neck with it. Yeah,
and the scene literally ends with him hanging himself with it. I'm like, what the fuck?
Well, he doesn't even hang himself. He just jumps to the ground and snaps his neck. Like, what the fuck?
It's literally just a thing hanging from the ceiling that's too short to reach the floor to keep him in the middle of the room for some reason, as opposed to any other thing ever.
Yeah.
It's just a weird contrivance to make the scene happen.
And
this comes back later because the climax of the movie, immediately the fucking villain walks into a rainy room because for some reason his house has a greenhouse room that rains constantly to make ambiance or whatever. He has an indoor rain room for some reason where he pilots his tank from that room.
He pilots his tank in the middle of the rain.
Yeah, for some reason.
He could be in an office.
It's thematic that the climax is the villain in rain. And almost immediately from seeing that room, I'm like, he's gonna get shot and he's gonna fall backwards into that tub of water, isn't he? That's like person shaped. And lo and behold, fucking funny haired old guy just walks on in and is like, I'm here to confront you, and he shoots him, and he falls backwards into the fucking pool of water that's perfectly human-shaped. I'm like, God damn it, literally the rooms are designed in ways that tell me what's going to happen later in this movie, because it's so fucking... It's everything about this movie is literally like, we want to reach this point, how do we create the stuff that makes that point happen? And that's the whole logic of the movie's design.
Yeah, it's just so not good.
It's hard to sit through.
So after Dumpy over here hangs himself, they figure out exactly where... the big bad guy is. So they basically raid his compound, which is like, I guess, a farm to get more bodies for his neural network that he's building to keep himself alive forever, is the gist of it all.
Or to strike back.
Well, I think, the way he said it was like, you should become you should join
my network.
Yeah, join my network.
It's one of those things where they put such little lip service to the actual goal of the villain that you have to like try to reverse engineer or fucking like start making like theory videos on YouTube to figure out what the plot of the movie is.
Like, if I was to wager a theory, he's making his own Tor network, so it's just him.
They want you to just think, hey, he's the bad guy, go get him.
Yeah, and either way, so she goes down a hall, she starts chasing after him. 4 guys show up and start hitting her with stun batons again, because that's a fucking theme in this movie.
Yeah.
So, like, again, people come out and start stunning her. I don't know why.
Why didn't the spider tank have stun batons? Could have just saved itself right there.
Could have just stunned away.
Like, this movie wants to be her to be powerless enough to get taken down by random people with stun batons throughout the entire film, but then also fight a giant spider tank with her bare hands at the end of the film.
So then she gets stunned, the bad guy hooks her up to a thing, and he's like, well, now we're one. I put myself into you. And like, my ghost is now into your ghost.
Is this entire movie trying to be a rape metaphor? Is that what they're going for?
Yes.
Like, people keep putting stuff inside the protagonist, and she literally, like, we haven't talked about this yet. Somehow we haven't talked about this yet.
I've been saving it for the best.
But throughout the entire film, anytime anything happens with her, when she hacks into somebody or when somebody edits her data or gives her medication or anything, she literally always is like, I am Major and I consent, over and over again, all the way up to a climax where she'd be like, I do not consent, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like, is this all an attempted rape metaphor? Is that what they're going for?
I don't know.
Is that why they show her tragic past and how she was made into a monster and everything like that? Whereas that was never what this was about.
Because that wasn't her consent, Keith. She didn't consent to be a monster.
Yeah, like, it's like they went from a source material that's about transhumanism to a new movie that's like a young adult film about cyber rape. Like, that seems to be the premise. Like, if it's not about that, what is it about this time? Like, what is
the movie?
Is it about something this time?
Yeah, this time the movie is about how greedy corporations shouldn't be allowed to control human evolution.
Question mark?
The end? I don't... Like, that's the thing I don't understand. I have no fucking idea, because the fucking... So, like, okay, so that's why I was trying to explain this. To get to the point, you meet the bad guy. He shows up. He's basically a fucking stitched together Tim Burton nightmare. Yeah. And he's like, hey, how's it going? And he explains that he is one of 98 other people that were attempted to become cyborgs like the Major, but failed. And were just thrown out, I guess. Like, you just take the body, throw it in the dumpster, and hope for the best. And
apparently they're really not very thorough or scientific or careful about any of this, because he's alive.
Because he's still alive. And so he explains that he's like, he is a person with a brain in a body, and he just doesn't know, like, he just doesn't work. And
how hard is it to remember to just kill a brain? They're literally, they're all...
It's not hard, because it shows at the fucking end.
Yeah, like, when the squeeze claw that starts squeezing his head.
The Major, when she's sitting in the chair, and they're like, all right, inject her with the fucking brain-killing stuff.
Yeah.
So they have the technology, they just didn't want to do it because they're assholes.
Or just stick something in it. It's a brain. Like, it's an exposed brain inside of a weird cage, and they somehow failed to kill one of them correctly.
And either way, he, like, explains to her that, like, they're all lying to you. The whole company just is taking people and turning them into robots.
So the guy that Kuze is supposed to be from the original film, he was not tied to the Major at all, was he?
No, he was an AI created by the United States, I believe. I believe he was an artificial intelligence created by the United States, and
standalone. I mean, Adult Ghost in the Shell takes place in Japan, right?
Yes.
Like, it's specifically supposed to be a very distant character.
But
they're both. But in this one, not only are they from the same project, they were friends beforehand.
Yes.
Like, maybe the fact that their names are together almost seems to suggest that they were, like, romantically involved before they turned.
Well, no,
into
they
monsters.
all just slept on that one bed, Keith.
Yeah,
like,
but the two
98 people slept on one bed, Keith.
It does imply that seemingly 98 people were all from one tiny room.
They show this house that she came from. It's like, this is where all the runaways live. And
it's like a room.
Yeah, it's just like, it's not even the size of this living room. It's smaller, it's like a bedroom. And then it shows a scene where they're, like, stealing all the people from it, and they're pulling out, like, people after people after people, like it's a fucking clown car.
Yeah, and also for some reason they set it on fire. Seems like a bad plan for capturing people is to set their house on fire. Like, you're already surrounded with.
Well, there's only
guards.
one exit.
They're children, and you surrounded them with armed guards. I don't think you need to light the whole thing on fire. That seems like a bad plan if you want to use them.
It was still there, so I guess it worked.
Maybe they didn't really experiment on 98 people, because, like, 70 of them suffocated to death before they made it there, and that's just part of the total.
I guess.
They already used up the names and no numbers.
Either way, 98 people were presumed to be stuffed into a room together, sharing a bed and a pillow, because that's all it was there. It was just one half of a bed and a pillow, and I don't understand.
Which apparently was an area they call the Lawless Zone, which is just mentioned once and never examined or explained upon at any point in the movie.
Nobody lives there, because if they did, they're dead now.
The Lawless Zone. What is that? I don't know. We brought it up for the convenience of this one scene, and we'll never talk about it again.
I don't know. But basically, after the guy the bad guy explains to the Major what he is and all this bullshit, she runs off with him, and she's like, I gotta figure out my life. And so what she does is, to figure out her life, she just jumps into the ocean. And so the next scene is, like, the old guy and Bato, and he's like, yo, we need to get the Major. There's a kill hit on her. And Bato's like, oh, I know where she is.
God damn it.
And he goes on a boat. And on that,
this is apparently one of the only character traits we're going to give the Major is that she likes to dive to the bottom of the ocean sometimes.
Because it scares her. And it makes her feel alive.
I guess, yeah.
And so...
And this is the part where it's like, it's a part of what makes the original movie what it is, but it's also one of the things I criticize, is that we then get in the original anime, we get a very long, drawn-out monologue about, like, philosophy, basically, right here. And I don't mind the content of the monologue. I just don't like that the movie apparently ran out of budget in the animation here, because this particular scene is literally just a slowly zooming camera on Major as her mouth flaps open over and over again in sync with her dialogue, and nothing else is happening, which is weird, because earlier they were like, here's a 10-minute extended segment of music and like cityscapes and stuff, so I'm like, hang on a minute. What happened here? But at least there was a purpose to the scene, was to have that whole scene, right?
Yes.
But here, in the 2017 film, she comes up from the ocean, she says that line about how it makes her afraid. Then it's like, Bato's like, do you trust me? It's like, yeah, I do, and I hate that. And then the scene ends. I'm like, what? That's the whole scene? You literally just... We're like, this is the boat scene from the movie. We're going to do it here, because we just do stuff from the other movie without thinking about why we're doing it.
And... it was also weirder, too, because, like, if I'm remembering correctly, and I think I am, is that in the previous, what's it called? In the original Ghost in the Shell movie, isn't she just, like, naked and jumps into the ocean? But in this one, she's, like, actually wearing a wetsuit.
Yeah. What does a wetsuit do for her?
Nothing, because her face still has lines that water can get into.
And her wetsuit just looks like the rest of her body normally does without a wetsuit, except a different color.
Except, it's just navy.
Why does she own a wetsuit?
Where'd she even get a boat?
I don't know. Does she feel like any self-consciousness about her body? Like, does she actually care to cover up in the first place?
No. Well, in the original movie, she doesn't. Because Bato's always the one that's throwing fucking jackets on her, and she's like...
literally throwing clothes at her.
He, like, throws clothes at her on the daily, but, like, the Major's just like, I don't give a shit, I'm a robot. Like, these are fake boobs, I don't care.
But now I cover it in a layer of felt, so it's different.
Yeah, I mean, this, she's also the woman who basically wears, like...
I put latex on my latex.
Yeah. So
I got double latex.
Either way, it's just stupid. And so she goes to, like, undress out of the wetsuit, and she's like, I know where he is. And is like, okay. And then they just take the boat. They just drive off.
What's insane about this scene is that, like, this is where one of the climaxes happen?
Yeah.
Because they finish the boat scene, and she gets immediately, like, taken charge of by the military group that they're working for. Yeah, he just vanishes from the scene, which is weird, because it's implied that they're together in that scene, and then he's just not in the next scene when they arrive at the coast.
It's a different time of day, too. They leave on the boat at night, and then she's like, I need to be back on the radar so he can catch me.
But it's clearly filmed in a way to imply that they're arriving back from the boat, right?
Yeah, because she's at the port.
Yeah.
So she gets off the boat at the dock, and then, like, all these troops are there, and she's like, I guess you found me. And I'm like, did time pass? Like, did it take you...
Was this intentional? Are you planning on getting captured?
Yeah, she wanted to get it captured, but I was like, did you wait 12 hours to get captured?
But her plan for being captured is insane, because all she does is just, like...
park a boat? Like, and then get out?
No, when they capture her, she just gets, like, strapped up, and they're just gonna kill her.
Yeah.
Like, and she's powerless to do anything about it, and I'm like, you just walked into this?
Yeah, and Bato wasn't there at all? Like, he just let this happen?
There's no exit plan. You literally, like, the only way to live this situation is for the doctor who... apparently signed off on 99 people dying, is going to have a change of heart right now and save you at the cost of her own life.
Yeah.
So she's like, here's all of your memories. Run!
Yeah, also, so they strap her to this thing. They have a talk about, like, you need to kill her. She's fucking defiant. And the lady's like, she's still a human, though. And he's like, yeah, but she ain't the weapon I want. And she's like, what? And then she even asked, she's like, what the fuck do you want? She's like, I don't understand. Like, she's the pinnacle of human evolution, and you just want to toss her the fuck out?
Delete her and start over. It's like, but you're just going to make another person robot? Like, but you don't want them to be people. But you keep making them out of people. Yeah. But you don't want them to be people.
And he's like, silence, take this and kill her. And he's like, okay.
Take this very obviously colored red vial of murder and put it in her.
Yeah. And
what are you doing over there with the yellow vial? I'm not going to question this.
She goes over to the fucking machine, and there's a yellow vial there. And you just have to ask, who the fuck put the yellow vial there, and why didn't they get fired? Like,
it's the magical. Apparently, that's like adrenaline or something. Just snaps her out of all the drugs.
Yeah, I don't know because it looks the same like the medicine they were like she was taking the whole time because it's the same color, but she just injects it directly into her brain.
Also, why is this guy like a mega monster and a horrible person and actively trying to murder everyone and is just like this comical supervillain and the least interesting villain ever, but the core villain of the entire film, and he won't just shoot her in the head? Like. It's like, you should be the one to do it, is the line they give.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
why are you fucking caring about her feelings? Like, you worked for this. You should be the one to do it. It's good. It's like, what? Like, why do you care?
Like, not even that. You were literally there as children were being kidnapped. Like, you were standing there, watching it happen, instructing them to put them in the car. And then you went so far as to kill 98 of them on trying to get a perfect one. You got one, wanted it to become a weapon. You're like, but you get to kill it.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck? Who are you? What the fuck?
There's so many weird contrivances to killing people. Like, that was that one, and then like later in the spider tank scene, he's pointing 17 guns directly at the original supposed villain, and all he has to do is just shoot him.
But he won't.
But then, like, he just doesn't shoot him for the longest time.
But every time.
But then Major shoots him. Major shoots his tank, doing no perceivable damage. And now he's like, well, I gotta completely change my direction and get distracted by this and shoot in all these directions instead of just shooting the guy I'm here to shoot. And then later, when he gets back to paying attention to Kuze, he's then like, I'm now going to stick this thing on your head that slowly squeezes it dramatically instead of just shooting his head. And I'm like, there's so many scenes where this guy could just kill all of the characters he wants to kill and just doesn't do that.
Yeah, so basically the Major just like books it. She just leaves the facility. And the doctor gives her a little key.
By the way, making no attempt to preserve the life of the person who just helped her. She just leaves her.
She just leaves.
And guess what? The fucking guy that you just stopped gets back up and shoots her to death.
Yeah.
Thanks, you did that.
Not only that, when she was escaping, she like made a dude fly by punching him in the neck. Like she she slid on her knees and hit a guy in the neck with like a baton, and he went just spiraling in the air like physics turned off. And I fucking laughed at that. I was like, she's sitting here beating people up, and then
It's like the kind of stuff that happened during that shallow water fight.
Yeah,
where, like he would kick the dude, and he would perfectly level off in midair horizontally and spin like a carnival ride.
Yeah,
in slow motion. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it was.
Isn't that guy just? Like, I don't even know how much of him is human. Like, I feel like you're just like destroying a human because later he's gonna hang himself. So like I feel like it's pretty human.
Yeah,
so, like, how are you doing this?
It's very weird, but
also he's human enough to hang himself, but not human enough that he can be hacked and manually controlled by someone.
Yeah, so he's like he's like cybernetic, but I guess necks are still as fragile as ever. I don't know, but so the doctor before the Major escapes gives her like a bag with numbers on it. And she takes the bag with numbers on. It's supposed to be a key.
We couldn't see it up close.
No, it was glowing.
There's a thing in this game where all the holograms are often relatively clear, but a lot of the physical objects people are carrying are often like really weird. It looks like I'm looking right now at Andrew's Majora's Mask cartridge.
Yeah,
and it's got a hologram cover, which means that it's unreadable from this distance and just looks like a wet smudge. And that's kind of what all the physical objects in this movie look like.
Yeah.
Is they're covered in some sort of shitty holofoil shit where like you're like, I don't know, it gave you a bluey baggy thing, which I think was supposed to be like
it's like the key to the apartment.
I think it's supposed to be one of those like dog tag shaped keychain things that would have like a number for a key.
Okay.
So I think that's supposed to be like they said
because it had the number of the apartment that she goes to on it, but like she pulls it out of the bag, and I was like, oh, it's like a physical object.
Yeah,
but
like
what is this object for? And she never uses it. She just pulls it out of the bag and then is immediately at the.
What was confusing about it is that because they just hand her something, I was like, oh, maybe it's a chemical or like a data download. I
thought it was a data disc because
like
it's the same looking disc as the one she put in the fucking computer.
She hands it to her and says, "This is your past, the real one." And so you think, oh, it's her memories.
Yeah,
like they
that's right. Yeah, that's what I
download
thought.
them, but it's literally just like here's the
key card to your
apartment room you should go to to learn your past. It's like that seems like the most contrived possible way to handle this.
Not only that, so she goes to this
apartment.
She goes to this fucking apartment, And
immediately catches an escaping cat. And
Yeah.
is like, "Is this yours, Mom?"
yeah, she like catches this cat, and the lady's like, "Oh, you got it, thank you. Come in," to a stranger.
Yeah, she invites a stranger into her home.
And so she like looks around, she's like, "Huh, that's weird. It's like you got an extra room. Whose room's that?" And she's like, "Oh, that's my daughter. She's dead."
Exactly 1 year ago.
Yeah, exactly 1 year ago she was dead, and the ministry gave me her ashes. Not suspicious.
So she immediately gives all of her backstory, being like, she was in the lawless zone, and the military went after her, and she ran away, and she supposedly killed herself. The military gave me her ashes, and she was fierce and uncontrollable and feisty,
and she hated technology.
And you remind me just of her. And I'm like, what? How?
Yeah, because the way she looks at her.
Yeah, it was the dumbest line ever. Because like, fucking Major walks in and is just staring at her as she says stuff.
Yeah,
just quietly and politely, just sitting there while having a confused look on her face. And somehow, immediately, this woman's like, "You're my daughter," and I'm like, how? How could you ever? How could you ever start piecing this together? It's one thing if, like, it was a real human being that doesn't remember you, but, like, it's literally not even the body or the mind at this point. Like, she doesn't remember you. You're her own mom.
Yeah.
And also is in a cyborg body that isn't even the same, like, race as she originally was. Like, is completely unrecognizable. And she doesn't know what's going on, and somehow within seconds you're recognizing her as your own daughter, who you've described as being like feisty and uncontrollable, but like this person's just quietly sitting here. I'm like,
also,
what?
Also, I feel so bad, but the woman who played the mom, that was not a good choice.
The only person in the entire film that does not seem to speak English fluently, but is speaking English.
Yes.
But nobody else in the film does that.
I thought she was going to speak Japanese at first.
Yeah, why doesn't she just speak Japanese with subtitles like the other character who does that in that movie?
I don't know, but man, she can't fucking speak.
She tried.
She tried. I give her credit, but like she had no emotion behind what she was saying. It was a fucking humorous event. It would
at least make more sense if everyone spoke English in this movie, but they don't.
Yes.
So why does she have to speak English?
I don't get it. It made no sense. It was stupid. And then all the result is that the Major kind of like freaks out and then runs away and doesn't even bother having tea. And so then the Major just runs.
That's rude, by the way.
Yeah, she just fucking dips. And
makes you tea and you just fucking run away.
Yeah, and the mom's just like, "I hope you come back." Like, that's it.
It's me like, will you come back and visit me? And it's like, yes.
Like, what? You're a stranger. And so
a stranger who said like nothing, by the way.
Yeah, nothing. She said nothing.
You just invited her in at random and then speeched at her for a while. I guess she's just a lonely old person. Like, sometimes you see people at the store that will just like ask excessive questions and make conversation about like what time it is and shit like that, because they're just like, their wife or husband died years ago and they just any human contact they try to stretch out.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what they're going for.
Yeah, but I don't just
like,
invite those people into my house.
Yeah, like, and usually don't within seconds assume that they're family.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
So the Major runs off. She gets like all freaked out, and then so she calls the headquarters, Section 9. And Section 9's like, "Yo, well, the bad guy now, the real bad guy, showed up and he's telling us you're like killing people and you're like a fucking liability." And she's like, "No, we'll ask the doctor. She knows." And then they're like, "Yeah, that's the one you killed." And she's like, "Oh, well, shit. Well, don't come and find me then." And so they don't. Like that's all. Like, basically, the bad guy goes like, "You better find her," and he's like, in the old boss guy is like, "All right, whatever." And so yeah, and then basically the Major goes to the old house where 89 or like 98 people lived in a small 1-bedroom home, and she like then the Reaper.
It's noteworthy that this was before this happened. Before the part where she goes there is the scene where they say, the team's burned or whatever. Like, the leader says we're burned, and literally every member of the team gets hunted down by the evil corporation one by one, and none of them are successful, apparently, at killing any of them.
Yeah.
Somehow. Which starts in the most comical way possible, because the old guy gets into... Are the driver's seats on the right side in Japan, by the way?
Yes.
Okay.
It's just like Europe.
Yeah. Well, England. I think the rest of the Europe is actually flipped from England. I'm not sure.
Really?
It might be. I'm not.
Oh.
We can't go too further on that without just saying. I
Either
don't
way,
know.
Japanese people,
I don't think.
Japanese people sit on the right side of the car.
Yeah, so he gets into the driver's seat on the right side of the car, and an entire team of like
Just 3
six
people.
Was it 3 people?
It's just 3 people.
3 people with machine guns all fire into that side of his car in every direction, and like apparently he doesn't even take a single bullet somehow.
He's good.
I guess he's got like a super bulletproof car.
No, he's got a super bulletproof briefcase.
Yeah, that too. So he then gets out of the car and starts shooting back at them, which is seems like a bad plan to get out of the car as opposed to just like shooting out the window of your apparently bulletproof car.
Well, they only aim for the head.
Fights them all off one by one while conveniently holding up his briefcase over a small portion of his body that's apparently also bulletproof. And he manages to take them all out while taking every bullet possible, but none of them hitting his body.
Yeah.
It feels like watching fucking Jedi fight droidekas at some point.
He's also like using a revolver.
Yeah.
For some reason, because that's Togusa's thing, but not the old guys. So he's like using a revolver for some fucking reason. And then he like makes some line about like don't send rabbits to kill a wolf, and then kills a guy. And then
No, don't send rabbits to kill a fox.
or fox, whatever.
Because he's a foxy old man.
Yeah, I guess. And so he just gets back. He just walks away from his car. He's like, "We've been burned.
I don't need this car
Yeah, he's like,
anymore.
"I don't need it anymore." So he walks away, and then everybody experiences being burned as well.
Yeah, but also he waits till that moment to say we've been burned as opposed to beforehand,
yeah.
even though it's apparently a completely in-sync strike where everyone's going to be attacked over the next couple of minutes, and he could have gotten them killed by not saying that any sooner.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I don't even know if Togusa can hear them because he doesn't have implants and he can't listen to like the neural network.
Yeah.
So maybe he can.
Apparently Togusa can hear people because he clearly does.
Well, no, he
They
doesn't
say
really.
we've been
He just
burned,
like
and he immediately reacts and looks at the mirror like, oh, someone's sneaking up behind me. It literally exists this exact moment. And he shoots people in every direction without getting shot somehow. This is where we get the moment we talked about before where what's his name? Not Togusa, the other name.
Bato.
Bato is like, I'm sitting next to my dog. Don't worry, I got it. And then they just don't show it.
Or the Basset Hound.
The Basset Hound.
Basset Hound.
Which apparently is the bestest dog. Because like, there's a bunch of dogs that are all buddies with him, but then suddenly only the Basset Hound.
That's just an inside joke. Because the creator of Ghost in the Shell has a Basset Hound. And it's his favorite type of dog.
Isn't there a Basset Hound in Ghost in the Shell?
It's the second Ghost in the Shell movie. There's
Yeah.
a Basset Hound. And that's, again, just a reference to the creator.
Yeah.
So... Yeah,
So
that's the only reason they did it.
So we know that we see those 3 go out, get taken after, but apparently, I assume they also went after the girl and the black guy, and then we know the black guy survived too because he's the sniper later. So
Yeah.
they seem to have been completely unsuccessful as these giant strike teams to take out these random soldier dudes that we've never established were particularly capable or especially interesting. Like,
Yeah.
I think this is the only action scene Togusa has in the entire film is taking out a few guys that go after him and then never seen in the film again.
Yeah.
Because he's not in the movie for any reason other than because he exists in the source material.
And so, yeah, the Major and Skeletor, Kuzo, are hanging out at the old house when a spider tank appears and blows it up. And then they go flying out really cartoony, which is great.
Yeah.
It looked awful.
Because explosions are too weak to kill them.
Well, they also were like CGI when they were
Yeah.
flying back. So they were just like sploshy onto the ground when they were just like... Blah, 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 pfft. And then it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So then the tank shows up, which looks like...
Bizarre.
It looks like probably the worst Transformer I've ever seen.
Yeah, it looks like something that it's like they looked at the Tachikoma design and we're like, well, that's too silly. We gotta make him look angry and bad. So they made him a bunch of a bunch of rectangles. He's like 3 slabs of rectangle in a row that all wobble independently. He looks like the fucking machines from, like the robots from Interstellar.
Yes.
In a weird way.
Yeah.
And you don't know why he's made of rectangles, but he is, I guess.
Yeah.
And none of it seems like it's like you look at a Tachikoma and like you can see where all the pieces work to make it do what it does. This guy looks like he's just like we decided he'd be this shape and then we added legs to it. And like none of it looks like it's designed to function.
And it's like super flat.
Yeah.
So like he's completely flat, which is weird. And he's got like
it's just an ugly design.
He's got like 2 eyes in the front, but like those aren't his actual eyes. He's got a camera. So I'm like confused of like what the fucking point of the headlights are.
To give it eyes.
I guess
angry eyes
to
for the
make
villain
it look
for the
angry.
villain robot, which is being piloted by a guy in a rain
Yeah,
room.
and so it's what's
Don't forget the rain room.
What's really super weird is that like the robot is like the robot's sitting there being like it was on autopilot to make its way over to the Lala zone, I guess. And then the moment it shoots a missile at the house and blows it up, the guy's like, "I'll take control of this." And it was like, are you sure? Like, I think the robot was doing a damn good job.
Why you take control of it so that you can make miscalculations about getting distracted by stupid things?
Yeah,
like
and
getting
so,
shot on your flank by bullets that can't hurt you.
And so that's what happens, where like every time the robot goes to Kuzo, like the Major
this guy's
just
apparently
shoots
an
it.
idiot at piloting a tank.
Yeah, and so he keeps getting distracted, and then she eventually like runs up top, eventually jumps on top, does the iconic scene of pulling.
Does the arm destroying scene in slow
awful,
motion.
by the way, because like the arm gets in the original in the movie, it gets destroyed originally by like just pulling. Like she pulls it, it rips her arm off, and she just like pulls it with the other arm.
Yeah.
With this one, she like breaks it off, and the motion of pulling it off rips her arm off. Like the top is so heavy that when she pulls it back like this, it just takes her arm with it. And she's like, whatever. And I don't even know what she does because it just blows up.
It's weird because she breaks the thing in a way that seems to contradict physics, which is that when you pull like a chain like really hard, a specific point will break and then the whole thing is done with and that's it.
Yeah.
But in this situation, the panel she's pulling on and her arm are all like one chain. And yet somehow her elbow and the panel both break simultaneously.
Yes.
Because her arm goes with the panel when it flies off, but it's her actually pulling up on it that breaks her elbow in the first place and makes it disconnect in the exact moment that the thing breaks off. And I'm like, how did they both break at the same time? In a weird way?
Yeah. It was...
And it's not really clear what she's breaking off in the first place and what it's supposed to accomplish. But it apparently accomplishes something.
Yeah, you don't know why she's doing it either, and even when she does it, the moment she opens it up, you don't see what's inside, because you don't see that. She just opens it, it immediately,
it's like the moment she pulls the panel off, the tank is deleted from the film.
Yeah, she, pulls the panel off, and then it blows up. And I don't know what happened. Like, did she put a grenade in there?
What did she do in the original movie? I feel like it made more sense.
When she opened it, it had a brain inside.
Yeah.
And so she just hacked into it.
And she actually did something.
As
opposed to in this movie, she pulls off a panel, then falls off, and the tank explodes, and we never see it again. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. I think if I remember correctly, she opens it up, and then I think she either if I'm trying to remember correctly, I think she shoots it or blows it up. Like I think she actually takes a grenade and throws it in there, or she shoots it. And then, no, they don't do any of that. That's right. She opens it up, and then they use it as a hub, because then that's how they connect the her and Kuzo together.
Yeah,
they connect it through that brain. That's right. They use the brain in the tank because
the tank served a purpose for the story.
Yeah, and so
in this one, it's like I'm a bad guy. Bye. I need me.
Yeah, I need a vehicle.
You've reached the level 7 boss fight.
Yeah, and so...
It's over.
Yeah, and so, basically the tank blows up, she goes flying...
You hit my glowing weak spot with an arrow.
She goes flying out of the ground, and then Kuzo has to, quickly drag himself over next to her, or else the helicopter scene isn't going to make sense. Helicopter shows up, it shows up... the helicopter looked cool. That was, the only thing that was cool, because, the side opened up, and then it turned into wings.
Mm-hmm.
That looked cool. I was like, alright, cool. Yeah, but then he was like, alright, you gotta snipe these... To snipe her, and then he specifically says snipe him for some reason, and so he goes, all right, so he snipes him.
He's like keep shooting,
and he's like, and so I'm imagining the sniper's like the guy I just sniped or the other girl,
it's such a weird weird sequence of orders.
Yeah, you're not being very descriptive here.
But then the black guy conveniently shows up to snipe the entire helicopter down in one shot.
Helicopter out. But it doesn't blow up the helicopter. This
character we didn't even know was a sniper.
Yeah, or
was alive at this point.
He just shows up on the roof of a building, shoots the helicopter once. I don't know where. Because it's too dark.
Why wasn't it Bato?
Why wasn't it?
Everything about that story would set up Bato being the one to show up in that scene.
I'm pretty sure it was him. I'm pretty sure it was the black guy.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't.
It's really hard to tell because you show him in for one frame in the dark and don't even really dwell on it.
But I only thought so because he had the eye thing over his eye. That's why I thought it was the black guy, but maybe I was wrong. In any case, somebody shoots a helicopter down. The helicopter just...
If it's not the black guy, that means the black guy's only in that scene about the liver, I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Never again.
And so the helicopter crashes into a building. Thank goodness no one lives in the lawless zone. Blows up. And then, like, Bato shows up. No, it can't be Bato, because then he shows up to help out the Major. Because he comes down and he's like, yo.
A significant distance away.
Yeah.
And then Bato is cradling the Major and crying, which is like a whole emotional...
Crying?
Yeah.
I thought he was just kind of like...
He is on some level distraught in that scene in a way that is not earned because they never develop much of a relationship between those characters in the film.
Yeah.
The only hint is that at one point, like, do you trust me? Is like the only thing that really points at that. But like those characters have no on-screen chemistry or apparent like interactions or feelings for each other, but they're like emotional over the state of things at the end of the film. I'm like, what? You guys? No. You at least you can't have known him for more than a year. We know that much. And also, like, yeah, like they have no interactions that suggest that they're even particularly friends. Really.
Yeah.
Like besides the one throwaway line of like, "Do you trust me?" which is like also not really earned because they've never been in scenes together for more than a couple seconds before, even at that point.
And then to tie it all up, because every story needs a good ending. The old man who runs Section 9 shows up at the bad guy's house, and he says, "Hey, I'm gonna kill you." And the bad guy's like, "No, don't." And so the old man just points a gun at him.
Just shoots him.
No, he points a gun at him, and then goes to the Major. "Do I have your consent to shoot him?"
Yep.
And she's like, "I, the Major, give consent." And he's like, whatever.
Which is like something that we've never established that even he would know was a thing they say back and forth in the first place. Yes, he
wouldn't know that was a thing.
Because every time they augment her or change her data, they always ask her to give her consent, and she always does. Until the one time, it's like, "Are you going to kill me?" During that one chemical red vial, yellow vial scene.
Yeah.
Where she's like, "I, Major, do not give consent." And the doctor's like, "We never needed your consent." And like, that's supposed to be like, oh man, major twist in the story. And it's like, and then this time it's like emotion. Then that's supposed to be the emotional catharsis because it's like, I give consent to kill the person that caused all this in the first place.
Yeah.
But it's like, using that phrase in particular makes this whole thing so weird and creepy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're going for what I think they're going for, but that just makes it weirder. But it's also super contrived.
It's so dumb.
It's such a shitty attempt at an emotional payoff.
And then it just ends with her jumping off a building and...
Instead of being a child?
Instead of being a child. And thankfully, this time, the old man gives her approval to jump off the building.
So because that she can recreate the iconic scene again.
Yeah, because the first time she did it, he said, "Don't jump off the building," and she still did it. But this time, he was like, "You are cleared to jump off the building." And she was like, "Got it." And she jumped off. And then she went invisible. Catharsis,
consent or something, I don't know.
And that's Ghost in the Shell. A movie that's just utter shit.
It's derailing, but I just thought of another dumb scene.
Yeah.
The interrogation scene. Ignoring the noose bullshit. There's the part where Major is going into the interrogation chamber and communicating via hologram.
Yes.
While standing outside. And this is when when the person being interrogated is in their stupid state of like, my daughter, and like he's harmless. But a second later, he becomes genuinely dangerous because the hacker's inside of him and like clearly acting through him suddenly. And instead of going back into hologram mode, she walks into the actual room as her physical self.
Which I didn't think was a thing that could happen.
Yeah, immediately you're like, why was there a hologram? Why was she using that earlier but not now? And why is nobody freaking out that she's not using it really? Like, it's like, what?
Yeah, well, the old guy, he was like, "Don't go in there." And then she went in there.
I don't know.
There was like no reason for the old man. There's so many
scenes where it's hard to grasp the internal logic of what's happening on the screen for any reason.
I think the biggest fault of Ghost in the Shell was it didn't have anybody in it. Nobody was in that movie.
Bruh.
Because nobody got any development.
There's no characters.
There was no humans in this movie. Like, what the fuck?
Nobody has like a personality.
You can't even remember half the people's names because you only hear it once. Like, Togus' name you hear once. I don't even know what the old guy's name is because I don't think I've heard it a single time.
What was his personality? He's a fox.
He's just grumpy, and he only speaks Japanese. Like, I don't even know what the girl's name is. I don't know what the black guy's name is. I don't even know what the bad guy's name is. I know Kuzo's, but I don't know.
They did say his name a lot, and it was like a verb or something.
Yeah.
Like charger or like
no,
slicer or some shit.
No, it's like...
It ended with It was one of those ones like a weird description of a violent action.
It was like something. It's like Challen.
It was a dumb name.
Challen or something like that.
And he had a personality technically, but it was only because he was like an arch villain personality split in. Like it's
so bad.
It's a really pretty movie that deserves writing. Like I was kind of happy when I was watching the spider geisha scene. Because looking at the stuff on the screen, I'm like, wow, this is like really visually distinct, cool shit going on.
It's interesting.
And nothing on the entire movie ever lives up to like the scene of watching a spider geisha drag somebody up a wall while hacking their brain.
Yeah.
Like nothing in the entire film ever lives up to that single moment.
It's so much better than like the lowest moment of the movie, which is like the major pays for a hooker and then just touches her face.
Yeah, that's the throwaway scene of like
what the fuck?
I guess she's grasping at her own humanity, so she's like, I'm gonna go find one of the hookers that's just actually human and like touch her face and talk to her while.
And that poor hooker was like terrified.
Yeah,
she was like,
"It's like, are you human?" It's like, "How does this feel? Different?"
Yeah,
and then it just cuts, and we leave that forever. I'm like, we're not gonna. I was like, you can't give this character development moment like more than like 10 seconds, huh? Like, she had to get in the whole getup and like all the crazy face makeup and everything. Couldn't just like give that actress like more than 10 seconds to work with.
Oh yeah, also the scene where like she goes to the fucking cemetery and the mom, like, she looks at her own.
You don't have to come here anymore.
Yeah, she looks at her own gravestone and and her mom's there and she like talks to her mom when she's leaving. She's like, you don't have to come here anymore. She's like, I know. And I specifically in the theater, I was like, can you get refunds on those? Like, can you get a refund on a tombstone?
Oh, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I was like, I thought you
were talking about the movie.
No, I was like, is it too late to get a refund on the tombstone?
It was the end of the movie, and I heard you say, is it too late to get a refund? And I thought you were talking about the movie.
Oh, no. I mean, that is a good question, but...
Yeah, it's like... But you're talking about the fact that there's no one buried there?
Yeah, there's no one buried there. I was
can you reuse it when she actually dies?
I guess? No, because now she has a different name. She's the Major. So you'd have to re-carve in the fucking tombstone Major
Does she not
Makoto.
Self-identify as Major Makoto?
She does. Because remember, Bato's like, is the Major still there? And she's like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But she's also Makoto. But she's also Kuzo. Because Kuzo's there, but so is Makoto. And so is Major. So now she's Legion.
She's Legion. I want to watch that.
It's just... I don't know.
Ghost in the Shell Legion. That'll be the new spin-off series after Arise.
I think the thing that upsets me is they called it Ghost in the Shell. Mm-hmm. If you just didn't do that, which I think is that's like one of my biggest complaints for most movies, is that if you just didn't call it something that already exists, it would be okay. Or it would be like acceptable because you don't have to feel constrained.
Because you're not shitting on one of the like an iconic anime movie that's like super influential and a big deal for so many other films and stuff.
That, and because you're not rigidly like stuck to the stupid like scenes that don't need to be there. Like, you don't need to do iconic scenes.
Instead, it would just become one of those throwaway like garbage American sci-fi. Because like there's every year there's like that American sci-fi movie that comes out that gets everyone's attention. Like Arrival or like Looper or something. Like something gets people's attention usually each year, but then there's like 10 really shitty ones, like In Time, starring Justin Timberlake, where it's like everybody has a clock on their wrist and it runs out, they die. And you get in time. And in that movie you get paid in time, and you pay for things with time, and all the rich people have a billion time, and they'll be 25 years old for 300 years, and you're gonna die in like 2 weeks if you don't work every day.
So bad.
And yeah, In Time is identically stupid as Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
But it's not shitting on a beloved 80s franchise.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, I don't like Ghost in the Shell.
It's just as schlock.
Like, it's not even schlock.
I wish schlock would be fun, actually.
Yeah, schlock would be fun.
God, In Time was stupid.
It's like it's so dumb. It's such a terrible, boring, just worthless movie. There's no redeeming feature about that movie.
I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and I'm gonna have trouble remembering stuff we described in this video. Which is when I'll be editing this.
Like, I'm never gonna forget this movie, but I'm never gonna actually remember why I hate this movie.
No, I'm totally gonna forget this. I'm gonna forget it just as much as people who saw the new RoboCop forgot it.
There's a new RoboCop?
Yeah, there was a new RoboCop like a year ago or something, and everyone already forgot it happened.
Well, it doesn't sound like it was made in the 80s.
Just like how everyone already forgot there was a new Total Recall.
Oh, yeah, there was.
Yeah. Starring fucking Eyebrows McIrishman.
I forgot about that.
Apparently, that's the only thing I can say in this particular spoiler cast is to say description, other description. Fuck, what's it? Colin Farrell, who I like and stuff, but fucking Total Recall was a waste of time, and it was really
Colin
stupid.
Farrell?
Yeah, Colin Farrell was the new Schwarzenegger in Total Recall. It was Colin Farrell versus Breaking Bad.
Bryan Cranston.
Bryan Cranston. Yeah, that matchup.
What a shit fucking...
Yeah.
Sounds like a shit movie.
Poor Bryan Cranston.
He gets stuck in a lot of shit.
He's in some unfortunate shit. At least he was in Drive.
I mean, he's been in good stuff.
Yeah.
He just gets stuck in a lot of bad stuff. You know, that's the thing. Besides Scarlett
Power
Johansson,
Rangers.
that's another thing. Besides Scarlett Johansson, I don't know who the fuck any of the other people are.
Nah.
I've never seen these people in my life.
Why wasn't Bato, if they're gonna go make, if Bato was gonna be cast to be a guy that looks like that dude, which, I don't know, he almost looked like the guy that played Tony Stark's dad. But, like, why didn't they cast, like, Carl Urban?
I don't know.
The guy that played Dredd and a bunch of other similar nerdy roles, because he's just into that shit.
Yeah.
Like, Carl Urban would at least be a decent co-star for this movie. Who was that?
I don't know who that guy
Who
was.
was anyone in this movie?
I don't know who any of those
The only
actors
thing
were.
I think I recognized, and I can't tell for sure, is I might have recognized the guy that speaks Japanese the whole movie.
I mean...
Because I think he might be a famous Japanese actor that I've seen in other shit. But he's not...
find out.
He's wearing a lot of hair... Like, his hair looks ridiculous, and he doesn't have a lot of screen time, so I couldn't recognize him for sure.
Oh, yeah, that's Takashi.
Yeah! That's fucking... Yeah, he's in everything.
Oh my
looks
god,
weird.
that's Takashi?
His hair just looks weird.
Where the fuck is Takashi in this movie?
Yeah. What have I seen him in recently? He's in shit like all the time.
I mean, it's a lot of just Japanese shit.
I mean, it would be.
He was in Battle Royale too. Battle Royale.
He's the evil teacher from Battle Royale.
Yeah, he's the bad guy from Battle Royale.
Yeah, that's where I recognize him so much from.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you meant movies in like recently or just in
I was
particular.
just thinking like, he's the bad guy.
Oh, he's the bad
more
guy
or less
from
the bad guy in the Battle Royale movies.
Royale,
That's why I
yeah.
recognize him.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I know that.
I can't. He looked like there was a scene where it looked like he had a stroke. Did you notice that? In the movie, I feel so bad. He was sitting there, but like half his face wasn't moving. Like half his face was just drooping.
I've seen him emote before. In this movie, he seemed a whole lot like...
He
seemed like modern Bruce Willis. Where he just seems bored with his own existence and doesn't want to be in any of the movies he's in.
Yeah.
And like, he's just like, I'm Bruce Willis, I'm gonna sit in a chair and grunt. Where's my paycheck?
I mean, he literally did that for
like, if you ever want to see Bruce Willis give up on his career, watch Fire with Fire. The one where he's like sidekick to some person that's a hero firefighter, and he's just like the most low effort actor ever. He's like, I'm in this movie, it probably won't even go to theaters. Fucking, it's what I'm doing this month. I'm Bruce Willis.
I just need to pay my debt.
We need to close this shit off.
Yeah,
This has been a spoiler cast for Ghost in the Shell. Neither of us liked it. It will be forgotten by time shortly.
It will be.
It already has been forgotten, apparently.
I mean,
we
yeah.
were in a theater with one other person.
Yeah, and that one guy looked like he enjoyed it. I don't even know who any of these people are.
It's fine.
I'm looking at all these cast members. I don't know who any of these people are. That's crazy. That's crazy. How do you, you spend all your money on Scarlet?
Sure.
All right. Well, in any case...
She made Lucy a successful movie, I think. That other one where she was like a crazy AI monster thing. Like that.
I mean, yeah, but she didn't have to act in it. She didn't have to, physically.
No, you're thinking of the one where the guy fucks an AI in his phone. That's a different movie.
Lucy. Oh, right,
yeah,
right.
She's a lot of AI characters, if you haven't noticed.
Oh, she does.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It's like you're thinking of the one that everyone couldn't... the one that was like an Oscar nominee, I want to say, that everyone couldn't stop talking about that year.
Yeah.
But she was also in like a more ridiculous B-movie-ish sci-fi scenario like this one recently called Lucy. And I think that was financially a success because it was Scarlett Johansson.
Huh.
This movie couldn't even write on that success because no one fucking cared about this movie.
No one fucking
and
cared about this movie.
Crashed and burned. We're late to the game now to the point where in a lot of local areas it'll just won't be in the theater anymore.
Yeah.
That's how quickly it's gone.
Which is okay, guys, because you shouldn't see it anyways.
So that was our spoiler cast for Ghost in the Shell.
I'm sorry.
This might be a more regular thing. I don't know if God, Andrew and I might drag ourselves to...
Joke's on you guys. We actually watch bad movies and play bad games.
Yeah, Andrew and I might drag ourselves to Transformers 5 when that comes out, just because we also watched Transformers 4, and we had stuff to say about that and its evil chromosomes when we saw that. But also, but on a lighter note, I might record a spoiler cast with Wanderbot about the Sexy Brutale, which we have enjoyed, and so we will also do stuff about things we like. My idea is to do this as like an augment, as a supplement for Four Nerds Save the Universe. Just whenever me and like another person in the group, or even outside the group, both go through a thing, we can like talk about the thing we went through at length in a spoilery way. Because on the podcast, whenever we talk about stuff, it's easy to get sidetracked by 17 other topics.
Yeah.
And, it's hard to give something in the full breadth. But that's because it's a 4-person podcast where the other people often didn't experience the thing. So it's often just 2 people talking about a thing, and other people get sidelined for a while, basically. So this is like a way of dealing with that, and just like how I talked with Birdcatcher for I think it was an hour and 15 minutes about Suicide Squad. We topped that. But yeah, this might be a regular thing. We'll see whenever it's applicable.
Yay! More bad stuff in my life.
Maybe we'll intentionally get through those 2 copies of Raid and Raid 2 you have over there sometime.
I mean...
Maybe we'll talk about Raid movies. That'd be nice.
Those are good.
Yeah, we'd probably enjoy it. You still haven't watched those, right?
No.
Let's do that sometime. Maybe next time you see Andrew on the screen, we'll be talking about the Raid movies. So there's your homework.
Could you please
watch the Raid Redemption and the Raid 2. I know the Raid Redemption is good. I've never seen the Raid 2. It's probably also good. I've heard that, but I've never seen it. So maybe go check those out.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get around to that.
Just don't watch anything that's Ghost in the Shell related that's live action.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Oh boy.
I hate you, dog.
Oh.
I hate you. You're the worst living creature on the planet.